feel with the lower tire pressure?
Feels better on the low speed, but not as good on the high speed.
Okay, so we'll leave them where they are.
Yeah.
Just leave them where they are.
Although, the only thing I'm curious, is there a pressure difference between left and right? Okay.
Alright, whenever you want to go out. You put your left leg up.
eyes. Those who survive know the one more time. Forth and back, just like that. What comes around goes around, my man. Say hey, hey, say hey, hey. Forth and back, and just like that, you're going down for heaven's gate. I'm gonna tell it to the right. We're going down.
Target acquired.
Eagle 1, first strike. You have permission to engage the target.
Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Fucking hell. It's sorry guys, when I close out StreamYard sometimes it switches mics on me. I don't know why. It's weird. Probably have too many of them. Good audio, great. Guys, we're gonna have a great show tonight. We're gonna talk a little bit about angry young men to start out with. Kat will not probably won't make it. She says she's having migraines, and you know that's never any fun. And we're just gonna end up we're gonna try and have a good time tonight. Gonna enjoy this this podcast. I'm gonna start out with that I went back and I checked the tape on the exchange between Dave and I. Because some guys said that it kind of came off like I could have been a little more aggressive. And you're right, I could have. However, Dave was the dick. There's no win on his side of that. I actually was very pleasant to him. He didn't even actually get offended until after I asked the question. It said he didn't want to answer the question. It had nothing to do with what I said. He's a pussy. He didn't want to answer the question. He was afraid of having to answer another question from one of Andrew's guys, especially a guy who actually looks like he might know what he's doing, sitting in front of a microphone, in front of a stage, I guess. That's my guess. I don't know. That guy's a dick. I went back and checked tape. Anybody else can call me on it. If you have a different take on it, please, by all means, roll tape and we'll talk about it. So yeah, he's apparently a very sensitive young man, which rolls into our topic, angry young men tonight. And I really want to, this is something I've been actually wanting to talk about for a little while, and I've kind of touched on it here and there before. But I haven't really gotten into it yet. I'm really glad everybody liked the intro. It was really you know, I got a lot of copyright strikes, not strikes, but I got a bunch of copyright issues using footage even that I had paid for. So I was just going back through some old stuff, and I just pulled up some video I had from various events over the years. And the first one is a very meaningful event to me. It was we had this fellow named JD. I won't say his last name. He's a super cool guy. He's out of racing now. He went to med school. He's a really sharp dude. So in that particular instance, he had just been racing in Germany in the Scirocco Cup and had come back over. You know, I mean, he was racing against Formula One guys, like legit, like Johnny Erber. You know, like really, really solid work. And he had been doing that for a while, and he had actually done really well. So we had a chance to get him in the car and test him. He went out. Now this is a car he'd never driven before. He'd never seen it before that morning. He did a few laps and kind of like a warm up. He came in. You saw him come in. We talked about the tire pressures. We talked about, you know, what the car needed. He didn't really need anything. He said, you know, it was a little unsettled high speed, but we can deal with a little unsettled in high speed. It's low speed where that translates to lap time. So we left it alone because it was very good on low speed. And I sent him back out, and so he ran a 201. He said, he actually told me, you can't hear it in the audio. He told me there was a 158 in the car. And he said there was a lot more in it. There was 2 seconds in it. He could get a 158. And the next, that lap, even the messed up lap with where the Subaru is trying to stay ahead of him, the turbocharged Subaru WRX is trying to stay ahead of this, you know, in a rotary, which is really funny. That guy did not like getting passed by the RX-8, but he even as messed up as that lap was, it was a 158, and it actually it was a track record for his class at that time. The second video, which is the MX-5, that's at Indy Race Park in Arizona. That was a fellow named John. Won't say his last name either, but he was a super cool older guy. a club racer, and we actually were there. He was taking instruction from one of the pro drivers that drove for me, a fellow named Jason, and so we were there. He was there to both instruct and to win the race, and he actually won both of his races, even though he was the least experienced person ever we put in the car. And that car is amazing. It is it's one of the best race cars that I've ever really worked with, and it's really good. The third scene is from when I worked with Rally Ready, who still exist. They're still Dave's still out there plugging away, and so Rally Ready brought this Evo in boxes to my shop. I spent a month building that car with them, with the two guys from Rally Ready. It was literally in boxes when it showed up. We got the car ready. The engine did fail at the end of that video. You can see the smoke coming out, I think, right before I cut the video off. And he did blow the motor, but that thing was making well over 600 horsepower. It could have made more, but the efficiency at 14,000 feet, we would have needed a much larger turbo even than what we had. The reason that you hear it whistling the whole time is because we were using nitrous, controlled by the ECU. Every time it would fall out of boost, every time it'd fall out of boost, it would it would hit the nitrous and it would spool the turbo back up, and that's why it's accelerating very quickly, and you just hear it on literally like whistling the blow off valve, which wasn't really a blow off valve, it's a bypass valve. You hear that bypass valve just zing 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 the whole time, and it was really good. And then the last scene is back in the RX-8. That was again with JD, and we actually had three drivers, all of them under 21. One of them is actually kind of a famous YouTuber now, and I may have footage of her in the car, but the footage from the car is JD again, and that's at Pikes Peak International Raceway, which is Roval, and that's at like 6,000 feet elevation, and it had snowed. This is January 1st, and so we went up there New Year's Day and did a track day in the snow. Or of course they had cleaned up the track for us. The track was pretty dry, but it was really really cold, and we couldn't really get a lot of heat in the tires. So you can see him he's not quite as quick through the tight parts as he could be, but still, the sound of that car. Now you got to realize that car, that is a stock engine in that car. There, we didn't do anything to it, and it's just exhaust. It's an exhaust. There's like 4 actual parts on the car that help it, and that car is really really special. It I still own it. It the way we did the exhaust system, everything, it actually makes a lot of power for what it is, and but we turned that thing. That was a stock engine. We turned 9,600 RPM, and it would shift at 10,000 if needed, which is why you hear it. Which is why the tone of that engine is so important in the video, because it gives so much depth to the video. Listening to that engine go to 9,600 RPM before shifting. And in the series, we actually didn't have a rev limit. All the other cars had rev limits. We did not. So it was a very interesting dynamic. I still own that car as well. I own that car and the MX-5 still to this day. They're in my warehouse. And, one day I'll put them all back together and we'll go play again. Maybe. I don't know. But that's how I spent my life. This you may have noticed the Grid One logos sprinkled throughout. That is my real logo. I paid for that for that artwork like 10 years ago. We're actually going to be doing T-shirts, and I'm going to be doing T-shirts and coffee mugs and all of that with the old Grid One logo on it, because I think it's cool, and I paid for that art like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago. Might as well use it, I really actually like my my Grid One logos. So Grid One, by the way, comes from pole position. We typically would qualify at the sharp end of the stick. I was very good at my job, and we would qualify at the sharp end of the stick, and I just never liked the term pole position. So we were first on the grid, and that means Grid One, and that explains my intro reel for this week. I may do another one at some point, but since Solid Snake, sent in the $1.99 to say that he loved the armory in the background, we're going to let me do this here. We're going to throw on, since I don't have a cat, we're going to throw on the gun cam. There you go. And if you look, you'll see Mr. Boulet's revolver that he had sent in, along with the shield. So yeah, go-kart sports. Yeah, but yeah, it's So I had an interesting kind of life there, and so there you go, Solid Snake. It is an interesting. It's a. This is actually just like those are. One of those is those are all competition rifles that I shoot in competition. Those have nothing to do with with reality at all. They're just kind of what I do. All right, guys. So let me. I'm going to hide this. I'm going to pop this down, and I'll put it back up later. I can put it back up at any time. So, angry young men. It's a great topic. We hear the term quite often, right? And what are those? What are angry young men? I don't know. I have some theories on what people consider angry young men, but it occurs to me that we seem to term very specific people angry young men without them actually necessarily being angry young men. And I feel like it needs some exploration from an actual like rational examination, right? With some anecdotal data and some storyline, because otherwise it gets boring as fuck. So let's not be boring. So here's where I'm at on it. When I was younger, I fought a lot. I did. I think it's actually one of the reasons why the way that I speak it, the reason I speak the way I do is because in general, I am always weighing whether or not I'm willing to get punched in the face over what I just said. Now, I understand that not everybody thinks that way. I understand that that's not a thing for most people. And I understand that, there's for whatever reason in today's society, there's a lack of, for lack of a better term, there's a lack of responsibility, if you will. And the responsibilities on the part of the parents, the schools, and the adults, because as kids, they should, young men should tussle. They should argue. They should fight. They should have back and forth exchanges. They should hate each other one minute and be best buddies the next. And we don't see that in modern society that much. And by modern society, I'm talking about the last 15 years, right? And I'm kind of bemoaning that. I kind of feel like that's a bad thing, because I can't rationalize it out. A lot of people I know, and I'm talking about even young men that have currently served in the military or have in some fashion, probably not in a combat role, but they've served in the military. They have jobs. They have manly jobs to some degree. They will still run their mouths like they don't expect to get punched in the face. And if you do punch them in the face, they're very got a bug in here. What the hell did that come from? If you do punch them in the face, and they're very shocked by it. They don't understand it. So it's an interesting dynamic to me. And I don't know that, and we'll get some guys up here later. I want to have a back and forth on this. I see Evan O'Brien and I see Viking in the chat. You guys, I think, would be great victims to discuss this with. But a lot of guys say, well, we were enemies until we were not enemies, right? Until we tussled. But I think it goes beyond that. I think it goes beyond it. There's this idea, and the thing with Dave last night actually is what made me the thing with Dave last night made me think about this. Dave says things without the idea that he might get punched in the face for saying what he's saying. I weigh everything I say with the idea that I might get punched in the face for what I'm saying. And that's one of the reasons why I will admit, when I'm being a jackass, because it is what it is. Justin, did I see the Spanish comedian get punched on stage? He told the guy his newborn was. Wow. I did not see that, but I'm glad he got punched in the face, to be honest with you. Angel Berber would like to get in on this conversation. Well, I'm gonna monologue here for just a few minutes, guys. If you have the Discord, go over to Discord. Actually, I'll do it right now. So I got to minimize. I got to do some stuff on my screen to make it work. Give me 1 second. I'm going to give one of the mods. I'm going to give Mr. Boulay the link. Nope, wrong link. That's not going to work. I give Mr. Boulay the link for Discord, and then you guys can ask him for it. I don't want a ton of people on this evening, but I think starting out, I'd like to have and this is no offense to anybody here. I'd like to have once I finish my monologue here, I'd like to have Mr. Viking, Mr. Angel Berber, and Mr. Evan, whatever his name is. Evan O'Brien. Is it Evan O'Brien? Okay. Mr. Boulay now has the Discord, the link to log in, and when I clear it, we'll get that done. Seriously, Shelby, just the mods will get that to you. They have it. So Discord's easy and free for now, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what's with all these channels we got to talk about all later. Remind me, we have to talk about the monetization of YouTube and why, what different weirdos are doing. Arthur Dye, we're talking about Angry Young Man. Let me a matter of fact, I'm going to put this up. Let me find it. I got a clip here, or not a clip. I've got got artwork. Where's my artwork at? Did I not? I thought I had my artwork. No artwork. There it is. There you go, Arthur Dye. There's the subject for tonight. How's that? Does that work for you? By the way, that artwork is awesome. That is Rye Guy. Rye Guy is does all my thumbnails and does a lot of my art. I've been doing a lot of my own video stuff because he's really, really busy, and he has things to do. So where I was kind of going with the Angry Young Man, as I have a young man and he is angry, and I've been teaching him a lot lately about how to be an angry young man in such a way that he doesn't get punched in the face unexpectedly, or that if he has an issue that he can't resolve, that he needs to learn how to discuss it with me, because I'm who that is. Yeah, fathers do look. Look, I'm going to agree with this, but with a caveat. Okay. Fathers play a huge part in helping young men understand what the anger is and how to deal with it. Your cohort of friends will teach you more about dealing with your anger than anybody else. And unfortunately, our current society bars that from happening. So, the raging patriot with raging yeah. I I said you're angry. What are you gonna do about it? All right. So uh guys, let's hop in the Discord. Let's kick this thing off and or hop into the chat. You guys, let's kick this thing off and we'll move on from there. I'm not talking about raging, right? Like raging, that's a whole different thing. That's a lot of that's chemical. I'm talking about young men. We see it a lot in society today. If you know what you're looking for, they're just angry. They can't even have conversations. Um, they seethe quietly. I see it myself. I don't see it in myself anymore, obviously, but I see it in young people all around me. And I'm around, between the clay sports teams and the junior shooters in various shooting disciplines and um, kids my son goes to school with and all this. I see this stuff maybe more than others. While we're waiting on everybody, I really have to add the gun cam back to the stage. I'm going to remove. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Did it mute me for some reason? This thing's annoying. No, mic's working. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, when full gun. Okay, that's fair. I don't know why. Oh, because that camera has a mic to it. That's probably one. I'll have to jack around with that, guys. Sorry about that. All right. Anyway, do we have anybody? Mr. Boulay, do we have anybody coming up? Did you get the? You got the link, Mr. Boulay? By the way, I've got to have Mr. Boulay on. I'm probably going to have Mr. Boulay on this week so we can talk more about coins and money and that sort of thing. Yeah, I think when I go full screen gun cam, what happens is it kills the mic. Yeah, suppressor cam, suppressor. So, speaking of that, Wit Machine is having a fantastic sale on muzzle devices. You guys should get in on. It's great. So as I was saying, do I train anybody in debating? No, I don't. I am not a debater, really. I mean, I guess I am a little bit of a debater, but because I did, I did philosophy, psychology, and with an eye towards law school, so I did debate club and stuff like that. However, I'm really not. I The problem is I don't have enough restraint and I go for the kill every time. And I'm not really. I don't know that I'm a good debater. I'm a good arguer. I like to argue. I don't know about debating. Debating sounds like a lot of work. Who wants to do that? So yeah, I don't train anybody to do anything. I can train you to drive a race car really, really fast. But what's up, Drake? Hey, Drake, I seriously need some meme work. Between you and Teriyaki, I've got to have some meme work done on that thing with Dave last night. There's so much potential there. I can't leave it alone. I'm sorry. Rear-wheel drive, obviously. Arthur Dye, I can make that happen for the right amount of money. I used to teach people how to drive race cars all the time. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm as patient as I am, is because I've had interesting things happen. Actually, let me. This is a great opportunity to let me see if I can. Oh, Mr. Boulay is added to the stage. Hello, Mr. Boulay. How are you?
Good evening, sir.
Have you passed out Evan O'Brien and Viking Paradigm? They're
not yet.
Yeah, send
I
those
guess
to-
I need they can send me a private DM in Discord.
yeah, guys, send Mr. Boulay a DM for the thing that does the thing. BMW Master Tech. Okay, that's unfortunate. I don't like BMWs that much. Nice hat, bro. Hey, check this out. It's a
Yours or mine?
all-purpose hat. All-purpose hat. So, oh yeah, somebody's got a Crucible hat. Look at that. Yeah. Yeah, I actually raced BMWs for a while. I did a touring car with BMWs. Viking Paradigm, he's in my Discord as a moderator. I believe he's in. I don't actually know. I don't pay attention. Slide Rule. He's Slide Rule. That's why you couldn't find him, because he's changed his name around. Ten memes for one fire. That's pretty funny.
There we go.
That's pretty funny.
Copy. Let's see what we got here.
That's pretty funny. I like that.
All right. Viking, you have it. You have the link.
And Angel Berber. Angel Berber, Evan, and Siege. Or not Siege. Sorry, Siege. You just popped right into my view. Viking Paradigm. We can get Siege on here later as well. Spaceship has landed, folks. The spaceship has landed.
Yes, sir.
You know what is that, like a 40-inch class screen to your left there?
No. These are 32. This one's I want to say a 20, and this one's a 27.
Okay. I don't. Okay. All right. I'm really now just jealous of the framework that you've got. Is that a steel frame, or is that mounted on pivots, or what's your framework?
This one and this one are mounted. These ones are on stands.
I got you. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I think that's exactly why he does that, Drake. Wicked Wally, enjoy dinner with your son, my friend, and we'll see you a little later. We'll be around. I assure you. It's been a rough 24 hours for me, man. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep yesterday. Did the show last night. I got to bed around 2 a.m. Got up at 5. Took my son to the clays course, and he actually shot really well today. And
Nice.
Oh, did he? Cool.
yeah, he did pretty good. And so now I have and then I got back. I actually slept for about an hour and a half before the show. Got up, took a shower. So while we're waiting on Evan and Evan O'Brien and Angel Berber to join us, what are your thoughts on Angry Young Man there, Viking?
I
Like
agreed
your
with
shirt,
a
by the
lot
way.
with what you said. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I agree with a lot what you said because like for instance, you talked about dads, right, being the filter for that. My father had a conversation with me, I think when I was like 12, and he said, you know, son, you got to understand, you got a monster inside you. And if you don't control the monster will control you. And the monster will hurt the people you love the most, and it will lock you up for it. And he's like, so you got to control that monster and become the monster, but be in control. Right. And that's what he was teaching me when he was teaching me Taekwondo. Right. And this wasn't like tournament Taekwondo. This is like traditional Taekwondo.
Sure.
Right. So there was a great responsibility on him to teach me right. So that way I wouldn't misuse everything he was teaching me. Right. Or even misuse it on my own siblings. Right. Because my brothers were both shitheads and they were always trying to fight me. You know, they're big Viking boys. Right. I was the short one out of even though I was the oldest. Right. I'm 5'9". They're both like 6'3", and they're always trying to fight me. Right. So I had to fight them more than I had to fight anybody else, because usually my mouth would keep me out of trouble because I'd either shut the fuck up or I would be able to talk my way out of situations, right, by making friends rather than enemies.
That's an
So
important thing, what you just said there, because, and that's actually what I find that a lot of people lack in modern society is the idea, like, and as I was saying myself, I basically everything I say, I weigh against whether or not I'm willing to get punched in the face for what I'm about to say.
exactly.
And I just don't think people do that. The it's really bad now. Like it's really, really bad. Like people will just say the most random, ignorant, asinine things and expect you to do nothing. And then, that's crazy, man.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I don't advocate for violence by any means, but you got to be able to expect violence, right? Like people say this all the time. Oh, you wouldn't say that to me in real life. It's like, well, if I'm saying it to you, I would say it to you in real life, and I'd be willing to accept the consequences if you do attack me, right? That's the
Right.
thing. It's just like I look
Right.
at that in that very realistic way. I'm not a different person outside of the internet. It's the same
See, I
thing.
think that
I think I talked about this the other day about, real friends. Like my family would be like, well, those aren't your real friends. I'm like, these are real human beings I'm talking to over the internet. They're just as real. They might not be next door, but they're still real people, and I will treat them accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that's important. It's because again, a lot of people, I think, have this very distorted worldview. The other thing is, I think that there's a lot of people who have this strange idea that they'll never get their ass kicked. Like I'm not saying I've been beaten to the point where I was bloody and couldn't get up, but I've had my ass kicked, guaranteed. And when I say something like really, if I say something really offensive to somebody like fuck you, fuck your horse, fuck the Texan behind you, I mean it, and I'm willing to take the punch in the face. I'm willing to go down on that shit, right? Like I've lit the fire. And I just don't think people do that anymore. I don't think they think that way. And I really think that that people in current society feel like they can say whatever they want with no consequences. Because if you do hit them, they're going to sue you. If they hit you, you're going to sue them. If they break a tooth off, that's going to cost him so much money and so much time and whatever else. And it's very interesting. I think it's a very interesting dynamic in modern society. And I'm really interested in different people's views on it because I come, again, I've lost fights before. I've gotten punched. I've actually said something I didn't even really think was that offensive and gotten and taken a hit for it. And I was like, wow, okay, all right, and I didn't go after the guy because honestly, I believe that he misunderstood what I said, right? But it's an interesting thing, I think.
Yeah, heck, I've had situations where I had a standoff. Like my brother got into a tussle with this kid on the playground, and he pushed him down to the ground, and then he was going to haul off and kick him in the rib cage, right? And so I just stood in between. I just got in between them and just stood there, and I said, don't fight my brother, fight me. And he played it off all cool and all that stuff and acted nonchalant. And then as he walked away, fucking grabbed a handful of wet sand and threw it, hit me right between the eyes. I got wet sand in both my eyes, and that shit was painful as fuck. Right. So it's like I won the standoff even and didn't even commit to violence, but I still got fucked up because of it. Right. So it's just like, that's why I said before, like, even if you win the fight, you could still lose.
Absolutely.
Right. A lot of people don't understand that about real violence. Like, real violence is just like, yeah, there's cheap shots, that sort of stuff, and there's even injuries that you incur. Like, if you punch somebody in the face, you might break your hand too.
Yes.
Right. And I was trained to, toughen I did bone density training as part of the Taekwondo training. So, like, I don't have that problem. I could punch 2x4s and break them. Right. That was the first thing my dad demonstrated to me about the martial art when I was like 4 is he's just like, well, this is a 2x4, son. And then boom, and he's like, and if you ever fuck up, that's what I'll do to you. And I'm just like, oh shit.
Right.
So, it's just like he put me in check real quick, and I was an angry young man too at one point, right? Both my brothers were angry young men, but us fighting and sorting it out solved that problem because it taught us to respect real violence.
Right. And I think that's kind of my point is that we're not allowing kids to do that. Craig M., An Armed Society, that's a Robert Heinlein quote. If you haven't read Robert Heinlein, you owe it to yourself to read Robert Heinlein. He is he's a man of many wise words. Generally specific. Welcome to the show. Hope you hang around long enough. I'm going to be cycling people in and on and off of the panel as we go through tonight. Normally Saturday night's kind of a chill stream, but with all of the interesting things that have been happening lately, I wanted to talk about the angry young men topic because I actually had this topic up once before and we got completely sidetracked and never talked about it. Scott H., you had to leave Andrew's stream and did not see what the interaction was. Okay, so what happened is I went on. So I went back and checked the tape. I actually was very calm. I was very nonchalant. I didn't think anything about the comment that I made. Like if somebody said that to me, I'd be like, okay, this guy's an asshole. But I wouldn't think, I wouldn't get all pissed off about it, right? Like I actually watched it and I was like, I was very low key. I thought
you were.
Other people may have a different opinion. I thought it was very low key. He sat there the whole time. He was just sitting there smiling. Everything was great until I asked the question. And once I asked the question, he stopped and he thought for a long moment. And then he was pissed.
Yeah.
Go back and watch it. I was because I was like, you know what? Maybe I did come off as a bit more of a dick than I thought I did. I mean, that happens, right? Like, I think I'm being normal and everybody else thinks I'm a dick. But in this case, Dave was a pussy. And nobody's going to make me retreat from that. Dave was a pussy. If he wants to talk about it, he knows where I'm at. I am easy to find. Matter of fact, I am super easy to find. And there's no avoiding it.
Well,
So
I'll be honest about that. I did not see that exchange. I missed that part. I was out doing some other shit.
Yeah.
But in terms of I caught some of the first part of it, and the part that really caught my attention was the part where he admitted that he makes bargains with God. right?
Yes.
That part fucking tripped me up real bad, like something fierce, because I'm just like, yo, if you're the kind of person, like people that bargain with God, when God takes something away from them, they get angry and they part ways with God, and then they do even more degenerate shit than normal a lot of times.
Yeah, but he said that's
Right?
why he believes in God. It's because,
Like I said, it's kind of like a mental gymnastic, more or less cop out.
yeah,
because you're setting yourself up for failure then, because the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh, right? So a lot of guys tend to forget that. And like I said, you know, he was very similar to me in that regard, but I don't bargain with God. I ask God politely for things, and usually knowledge, wisdom, and ability to help others, right? As well as myself, right? I ask for ability to do things, not for like handouts or any of that stuff. And it still hinges on my ability to do these things, right? And to be able to work with other people and allow God to act through them, because they talked about and touched on that as well, to be able to accomplish those goals, right? And so that threw me off, because I'm just like, yo, this dude is like making bargains. Like what would happen to his mind if, like, you know, he's talking about like his wife giving birth safely, like, you know, God forbid, but if that did happen to him and he made that bargain with God, is he going to hold that against God? Like that's the immediate question that I had. Like, is he going to be that type of person that's going to go back to atheism or whatever he started out as because God betrayed him, right? So anyway, that's my take on it.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
No, a Viking. First off, it's a pleasure to meet you. I kind of concur with what you said, because the good Lord, when he, I like to think he gives you just enough, whether it be inspiration, wisdom, or thought, or just enough to point you in the right direction. You know, it's the, you do just barely enough to help you get things done without you realizing what happened. I know it doesn't quite jive, but
no, it jives. That's Arminianism. Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
yeah, you know, actually, believe it or not,
solid
go ahead.
steak for $4.99 sends in. The 304s on whatever have it easier than Dave. Let's be honest. That's right. I was like, literally, that was like the softest opening I've ever had on a call.
Well,
anywhere.
maybe it's like the straw that broke the camel's back. Maybe it was just like he was stewing on that the whole time, and he finally got to the boiling point and boop, popped.
No, dude, Grid, you're one of the nicest dudes I've ever seen on anything. Andrew, while he can be very abrupt, he's also a super nice guy. I just think Dave, no offense to anybody watching, I just think he's a little bit effeminate. You can't be that upset over something. So yeah, no.
So last night I didn't review the tape. I was actually a little bit in disbelief that a grown-ass man took that much offense at just it wasn't even that back. It was the fucking truth. It was the fucking truth.
Oh, it was. I haven't seen that bit yet. If it was the truth, that makes even more sense. Right. See, that's the thing. A lot of comedians can take a joke until you say something that really hits the bone.
I'm going to throw the link out here, and I'm going to tell you it's at 2 hours 33. I think 2 hours and 33 minutes in. Start there, and it's like a couple of it's within a minute after that. Hang on, I'm gonna have to throw this. And I'll throw it in the chat. Everybody can go watch it. There you go. So I literally said, Viking, Dave, I appreciate you coming on. I enjoyed your arguments, as ineffectual as they were.
Yeah. Savage.
That's not that bad. Come on.
It's not bad.
It's the softest opening I've ever had. I mean, literally, like I didn't even punch him in the nuts. That was like a graze on the chin. That was just like it's nothing. It was nothing.
Being a stand-up comedian, you'd think he'd have tougher skin. I mean, come on, that's mild compared.
And
to
the only thing he could come at me for was
right?
was Andrew had made a comment, because for some reason when I go on Andrew's stream, their mixer boosts my mic through the roof. So I have to turn, every time I call in over there, I have to remember to turn my mic down, or I have to talk back here because it just blows them out. And he literally, and so Andrew's like, "Hey man, could you back away from your mic?" He was basically trying to tell me that I was too loud, and the only retort that Dave could make was that I was, trying to swallow my mic like it was a cock. That was just, I mean, seriously, you're a comedian.
That's classic go-to when you feel insulted. Go with the dick jokes.
No, you literally just said exactly verbatim what you said to Dave, and Dave automatically is like, like he's already upset just because you said that.
But I mean, now that I got the context, it does make a lot more sense because you were more or less rubbing salt in the wound.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, he had just gotten nut punched by.
Oh yeah, I saw the whole almost the whole thing up until that point, right? But yeah, that shit was yeah, he was not prepared for that at all. Like he thought he was, but Andrew clearly did more homework. Like he could actually dissect those points. It's like the fact that dude didn't even know that was an avenue of argument he'd have to defend against on morality and shit like that. Like, about the incest thing, like was just fucking insane that he did not even see that one coming. Like that's like an easy one when you're talking about like morality and stuff like that. That's an old argument, but anyway, I digress on that.
No, dude, Dave was completely flustered. Grid literally said verbatim what he said, and he's like, "Well, it's a little odd that
Well, he waited almost like 40 seconds. Like if you watch the film,
I just did.
He's like, he waits. He said like a deer in the headlight.
Yeah, and he goes, "Are you talking to me?"
Right, and I don't know, man. It was.
That's so
because
good.
originally, all right. So last night I was so stunned by the whole deal. I was like, did that really just fucking happen?
Bro, he's not okay. He's not Kill Tony. He's not David Lucas. He's not Dave Chappelle. He's obviously a little softer than the rest of those guys.
Yeah.
When you get made fun of the way that these guys make fun of each other, like
and Grid. And I don't know if you watched any further.
How are you, buddy?
Pretty good, guys. Good to be back on. Can't wait to get into this one real quick. But yeah, last night though, when you left, so like 10 minutes later, he did answer your question. Like 10 minutes later, because he was getting grilled about it by the moderator. Even the moderator, he was on him about it, and he did answer your question. He did.
Yeah, but
it's just funny to me because when
intro question to get him to admit that, okay, we're a failed republic, and then ask him which system that he wanted us to go to, because really you only have three, right? You have some form of communism, fascism. You have some form of representative republic, where you have voting again, or you have a monarchy. That's kind of it, right? Like you only have.
Andrew and the moderator broke that down to him. And because he was deflecting from it for a while. First, he just didn't want to answer it out of pride and ego, because like you guys were talking about, he was just so offended by what you said. Then when they broke it down that way, because Andrew added on top of that, well, you could have democracy and mob rule, and then what you're saying right there on top. Then Dave's like, well, you know what? I guess I'll have to say it's a failed republic. I have to go with that. But it took a lot to get him to answer it because he was so ego hurt.
I wonder if it was the question. I think it might have just been the question, and he took the low road out of just being playing offended.
That's true. He could have too.
He didn't like the fact that you said, "Hey, everything you said is ineffectual." Everything, whatever you said at the very beginning.
Yeah, he didn't like that.
He did not like that.
He was like smiling the whole time I said it. It wasn't like it's not like I said, "Hey, everything's ineffectual," and he went. It was just like he's just. And then I asked him the question, and I think he thought I was asking Andrew that, and he was like happy. And then the moderator says, "No, Dave, that's for you." And then that just like that quick. It was yeah. So
and if he literally answered it 10 minutes later, that's cowardice. Come on, dude.
Yeah. And everybody was like that I should take an L on that one. And last night I said I you know what, I do take an L because I should have pushed back harder. But now to be honest, I've been talked to privately by several people that I come out super aggressive on all of these panels. Every time I call in, I'm like, and I'm like, you know what? You're right. I am. you know, I have a personality that is what it is. Josie, get the fuck out of my chat if you're going to be a problem. So I'm just not dealing with you at all. If you don't want to behave, get the fuck out.
Grit, no offense, everything you say is very, I think, stern. But the way you say things are, I don't think you can be tone policed. You're not the tone. Like if you sat on the panel at whatever, none of those women could say anything to you because you never, you don't go at the high, you don't go to the low. You're just like this. You're monotone. You're very like I don't know if you ever watched Rush Limbaugh.
Stoic.
Very much like him.
Stoic.
Yeah, he would just go, but he never got emotional. He never got. It was always just like this. I'm Rush Limbaugh. Blah 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 blah. And that's so you say things that are effective. It's just that I don't know how he could tone police you in that because you were so nice in what you said, even if it was offensive to him.
I was smiling.
Like, relax.
Well, this is actually, if it brings up an interesting topic that's come up on the Fresh and Fit After Hours quite often. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And real men, air quotes, tend to be more direct, which is taken offense to today because everybody wants the spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down. Right. So you getting that pushback and being shamed more or less for being like, well, you're too harsh, you're too direct, or whatever the criticism might be. Like I said, as a masculine man myself, a Viking, I get the same pushback I've gotten it my entire life because my dad and my grandfather, my grandfather was, ex-military and my dad was trained by him as well. And when martial artist, so it was even despite his alcoholism, right? My dad made me have to be very stern. Right. He gave me that example, and that stern communication, people respect it unless they want to try to undermine it. And then they're going to shame you.
I got to get to a couple. Grayd's very stern, but just he's not aggressive in any way, shape, or form. Maybe what he says might be, but like Andrew, you know how Andrew would get very, very stern, like in his voice. Grit is just like across the board, just, hey, I enjoyed the conversation. I think it was ineffectual. And then Dave gets upset. It's like, what? It didn't make any sense.
Solid Snake, I appreciate the $1.99. I'm sorry, it took me a minute to get to it. Dave's chin is weaker than Riley Reed's husband.
That is a pretty good one. It was cracking me
brutal,
up before,
bro.
Brutal.
Just
that is brutal.
Go right for the body blow. Go right.
He's not wrong, though. He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. All right. Generally specific. Welcome back. I'm glad that you made it back. Guys, let's see. I saw something else. Somebody was asking me something. I'm sorry. If I miss it, guys, you just have to understand. I'm really actually not paying much attention to the chat because the way my setup is now. I do have it minimized though, so I at least see it. Jack says I was being humble. I'm actually not that humble. What I am is I'm very stoic. So
yeah.
It just comes off as me being humble. It comes off as me being monotone. It comes off as me being unemotional. But the reality is I'm just stoic. I do get it. I get angry. I'll be like, what the fuck? Like.
Yeah, but that's a good thing to be emotional, but not sound emotional. Do you know what I mean? I think that's a wonderful trait. So.
Yeah, I get accused all the time of being too arrogant and shit like that. And I'm just like, no, I'm a very humble person. But the thing is, I'm just so fucking awesome that even my humility comes off arrogant.
Same here. Yeah.
And you're a pretty funny guy too, Viking.
Yeah, that was funny, bro.
Yeah. So
here's a practice.
At the end of the day, I think that, and I didn't really want to talk too much about that last night. I just wanted to have that quick thing where I did go back and watch the tape. Because I allowed myself last night to second guess my own actions and be like, you know what? Maybe I did take an L on that one.
Nah.
Because I didn't push back. But I did actually. I said, hey, you just going to go to the ad hom? And he's like, yeah.
Oh.
I'm like,
he did. He said it.
He did.
Yep.
And I'm like, really? And I'm like, and I was in disbelief. Watch me stare in disbelief at a fucking comedian not being able to take anything. He took that harder than the biggest dick he's ever taken. Just telling you.
See, I kind now that I'm kind of wrapping my head around it, it kind of reminds me of like fighting, right? The first person to lose in a UFC fight or a fight in general is the first person to gas out, right? Endurance is the huge, deal breaker when it comes to how far you can last. And I think he just might have got to the bottom of his tank and ran out of gas. And just you're like, I could take so much, but I just can't take anymore.
Yeah, I think that's right. So
if you watched the video grid.
Sorry.
So I put in the private chat the link to the video at the point where just before you came on the panel.
Okay.
If you want to bring it up here.
I told everybody it's at 2:33, I think is what it is.
It's like 2:33.
Yeah, 2:33. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 2:33.
Yeah, and after I'm off the panel, I'll actually watch it back.
Yeah, it's really an interesting exchange. It's more interesting now because I had to go back and watch it. I was really like, and I wasn't going to, but you guys kind of made me, so I had to. I got peer pressured into it. My peers. So anyway, back to the angry young men subject. Angel, you obviously had wanted to make some input on this, and you've been very quiet, and I'm anxious to hear what you have to say. Well, not anxious, but he may be away from keyboard right now.
No, he's just there a moment ago.
Sorry about that. I just I did step away because I decided to take care of some things right while you were closing out the Dave Smith stuff. So
sure.
When it comes to angry young men, when I was a kid, I think what's missing, unfortunately, I hate having to go to this, but because it seems to be the trope now more than the serious discussion point about fathers in the house and things like that. And it seems like the more and more we talk about it, it's almost the opposite. It's like the more and more it's less taken seriously, as though it's just a cop out, right? But it's not, because, like you said, we're talking about angry young men and how men, the difference between men and women when women act out violently is because they've never been exposed to how to react to violence, because they don't understand the consequences of violence versus a man. And a man's taught violence consequences primarily from the first male figures in their life, which would be your grandfather, your father, etc. Right? And in my case, I'll use myself as an example. We were allowed, when we had disputes that got too serious and couldn't be de-escalated anymore with words. We had supervised violence. I mean, that's just what we had. My father,
boxing gloves, right?
My grandfather. We had gloves. We had, PVC pipe. We had supervised violence. That's just the reality. I think I mentioned this before. I mentioned it in the chat at one point that I lost the small portion of, top part of my small finger in one of those exchanges, and most people were like, "Oh, that's pretty crazy," and it's like, it's not crazy for the time, and that wasn't that long ago, and it was supervised violence. We would get it out. I had got a concussion from a boxing match with my cousin AJ. My grandfather put the American gloves on one of us and the Mexican gloves on the other, and said, "Go at it." And then when I got knocked down, all right, he called it, and that was it, But the point was, out of all of my male cousins, only one of them went on to become, two of them, I'll say two. Two went on to be not too regulatory still, but the majority of the men are well regulated emotionally. They don't get into fights, they avoid conflicts, despite all that. Because we learned what the consequences of violence are, and unless we want to deal with the violence, you got to know how it feels if it's going to happen. So that's why I agree with Grid, when you mentioned it, I'm like, yeah, that's how it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like that we learned a lot from that sort of thing, but we also learned a lot about it from just the way we interacted with each other's. I mean, and I'm not saying that all kids did this, but we had BB gun wars.
Yeah.
We had, we literally played a game called Smear the Rhymes with that.
Yep.
Where you
Played
just
that.
literally like whoever had the football was in trouble, right?
Yep, you're it. I've played that very same game with 30 people in the ghetto, right? Of all races, nationalities, ages, and all that. All the kids got together and we all fucking played, and it was an awesome fucking time. And you learned, like, you got it. You got to fucking run.
Right. Yeah. Right.
You know,
and you didn't get
teaches
mad.
you good skills.
The thing is that you knew if you played this game, chances are you were not getting away, and you were going to get tackled. You were going to get your face rubbed in the dirt. You're going to take a little bit of damage. You know that going in, and you did it anyway. You did it anyway.
We did.
And the BB gun wars too. I've got the scar to prove it. Yeah, I can't really show it. You probably can't see it on camera, but I've got a T-shaped scar. I got a little cross scar right on my lower jaw here, where my brother thought the safety was on, pretended to take a pot shot at me, and actually took a pot shot at me. Boom, hit me right in the face. And that was the one rule with the BB guns when we got them that Dad gave, was that we weren't supposed to turn them on each other.
Sure.
What's the first thing you did?
The first thing.
That was my dumbass brother. You know, couldn't control his emotions and got mad at me.
Ironically enough,
if you were to go, if you were literally, no kidding, if you were to, first of all, you can't even say that anymore.
No.
Right.
You can't even say that. You can't even use that term anymore. Second, if you were to have a game like that, first of all, you can't. There are no empty fields in neighborhoods anymore, so you can't. You would if you tried to do it in the local park, you'd get arrested, or at least the police would be called. Your parents would be called. The entire thing would be ruined 20 minutes in, if that. And they would literally think that you were all trying to kill one kid. You were all ganging up on that one kid, and you were. But that's the name of the game, right?
Just his turn. He wanted the ball.
Right? Sorry,
I was saying it was just his turn. He wanted the ball.
Right? Yeah, yeah. That's just the way it is. And so I'm not. I just find that we're in an interesting period of time, and I'm not really sure what to do about it. But what is happening, the end result of all of this negligence, and that's what it is, folks. It's negligence. We're being negligent with our children. I pick at my kid all the time. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like actually hit him or anything, but I pick at him. I test him, and he's got some anger. And I told him the other day, I'm like, look, dude, you are 6 foot, 180 pounds. You have a lot of anger in you, and one day, if you don't get control of this, you're going to make a mistake that could really cost you. So when you get mad because I'm picking at you, or I will do some stupid thing, I'm doing that on purpose. You should know, if you don't already know, that I'm doing that on purpose, and I mean it to make you mad. I want you to get angry, and I want you to control it. And I need you to understand how to handle it properly. And he's getting there. He's not there yet. He is 13. He's got a long way to go until we can let him, move about freely. But, it's tough these days, man. It's tough. He has no friends in the neighborhood to throw him off of his bicycle.
Friends these days are going to do that kind of thing anyways. I think one-sided violence is why a lot of people a lot of these guys are angry. I'm not speaking about sparing the rod or anything like that. I'm talking about one-sided violence from I grew up with two fathers, stepfather, another father. One wasn't there. The other one was around, but he was just a huge douche. So the violence I got was from my friends, but since we don't really have that anymore and everybody's just sitting there on their phones, It just, we don't have that thing anymore. I remember when the movie Fight Club came out in 1999. I think we're in this question is probably 18 at that point, or 16 or something like that. We were just like, hey, let's have a Fight Club.
Leaking.
What's that?
Somebody's mic is leaking.
Noise.
Oh,
Angel. Okay. Go ahead, Evan.
And it was the violence was okay because it was consensual, and then you obviously had the unconsensual violence, and there was then a reaction, an emotional reaction to that. I remember one time we were sitting there playing something, I don't know, probably football or some game on Nintendo 64, and some dude just takes a boxing glove that hits me in the face, and I get up and I'm like, bro, we went at it, but it's like that's what I'm talking about, one-sided violence. I think a lot of people are angry today in a different way. It sounds like you're a good dad. It sounds like I always tell my son, I'm like, listen, I don't pick on people I don't like. If I don't like
That's
you,
right. That's right.
I don't talk to you.
I don't like you. I just leave you alone. I don't even interact with you.
There's no words, no interaction at all with you if I don't like you. So it's like, I tell him that it's a hard thing. He's 12 years old. He's growing up. He's going through it. And I just tell him, if I mess with him, he messes with me back. I'm like, it's fine. Now, if he just wilded out and hit me for no reason, he'd be like, bro, that's not cool. We're not doing that. But I think that the one-sided violence that I grew up with, like my dad just freaking out. One minute is a great guy, my stepdad being a great guy. The next minute he's like yelling and screaming, saying that, his marriage is failing because of me. It's like, that's one-sided, because how are you supposed to defend against that? But when you're growing up with men, it's Boule, hey, that was good. We didn't call it Fight Club. We just watched it and thought we should fight each other. So, but anyways, I think that men are capable of violence, and violence isn't wrong. It's one-sided violence that's wrong. We're supposed to be violent.
Very important.
That's what men are supposed to be. We're supposed to be violent. That's the point. Somebody comes up to my wife and says something. It's like, hey, what's your deal, guy? I don't know who you are. Get out of here. But it's the violence of like, well, I'm going to go stab this guy because he said something to you. That's the violence. It's just out of control. Violence has to be controlled, but all men should be violent. So,
well, I think all men are violent. I think that was the most important thing you just said there. You said a lot of very important things, but the most important thing you just said was that men are violent.
Mm-hmm.
All men are violent.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if you prefer the company of men, if you prefer the company of no one, if you prefer the company of women, none of that matters. You are violent. You have as a man, you have the ability to produce violence, and you really have the ability to hurt people beyond what society wants you to think, which is that you're effectively a woman.
Right.
Society wants to tell men that they're effectively women, and therefore they should act like women. But the reality is that, and I've said this before, I've mentioned that early on in our marriage, my wife was feral, and she hit me once, and she gave me a black eye. If I had hit her, it would have really hurt.
Yeah.
Like it would have really hurt her. Like I never have because it would really hurt.
Right.
And you know what she did more or less by accident was irrelevant to me. I've had much worse things happen to me. Like I didn't even care.
Right.
That didn't even move the needle, right? It was a little bit annoying because it's purple for a couple of days and it's kind of but other than that, who cares? But if I had hit her, I have the potential of really hurting someone, and I know that because I have really hurt people, and I don't think people understand that. I know my son certainly does not understand that if he really hit somebody, if he got really angry and he actually hit one of his friends, because he's never hit anybody before, really, especially not in his current physical condition, and he's still growing. He's 13. He'll turn 14 on the 10th. At 14, he's 6 foot tall and 180 pounds. That dude is going to continue to grow, and he's going to continue to put on body mass, and he is going to fucking be able to hurt people.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
he probably can hurt people right now.
That's actually why I've got the One Punch Man Saitama poster I got. It's acrylic poster I got at TwitchCon in Las Vegas last year. But I got it because, friends of mine in the Discord were calling me One Punch Man because I'm the bald dude, and they found out like kind of the training that I did back in the day to break 2x4s and stuff. Because my dad's philosophy was, if you can break a 2x4, you can break a jaw. Right.
Yeah.
And we were always like, in terms of that surprise violence you were talking about, where, people sucker punch you. My dad trained me for that too. We had this game that him and my brothers would play when we're out and about or wherever. And it was, he would randomly throw a punch, and we would have to determine if that punch was going to be pulled or if that punch was going to connect and follow through. And if it was going to connect and follow through, we had to determine that in a split second. We could defend, but if you flinched or defended when it was going to be pulled, you would then get a free shot where you got 2 free punches in the arm as a consequence of flinching when it wasn't going to be a real punch. We played this game for years to enhance our reflexes. And I didn't really realize what he was doing at the time, but he was teaching me to be able to anticipate on the spot violence and be ready for it.
Right.
And be able to control my thought process and how I responded, even if I did get sucker punched, say by my wife, right? Where it's like, because you don't always, the first response should never be violence, right? Sometimes it could. It shouldn't always be, though. And that's a mistake that, if I was you, I wouldn't take that disrespect.
Yeah.
Right. I hear that shit triggers me all the time when I hear it. It's just like, that is weak-minded talk. Like, you might be physically strong, but you're mentally weak. Because if you're somebody that I can antagonize you into violence, that means that I can make you do whatever I want. I can control your emotions. If somebody can control your emotions, they can manipulate you.
Yep.
So
that's true.
That's why I was trained that way. If something happens to me like that, I don't necessarily, I'm not going to clap back right away. Now I'm going to think about it for like a half a second and decide, am I going to commit violence in response to this, or am I going to control myself? Right. And that's like the Saitama One Punch Man, right? He's not going to he can end you in one punch, but he knows that. So he doesn't just automatically try to, fight people. And it's an anime character, I know, but I find it very interesting, the correlation with reality, because it's an exaggeration of a trope in anime that he's a guy that never loses. But when they portray the character, he shows that stoicism, and where he's like, even when he's getting the shit like kicked out of him and whatnot, he's not resorting to violence. But if he has to, boom, he's going to end that fight. And that's how you should be as a man, in my opinion. My dad said, I'm not teaching you how to fight so you'll start fights. I'm teaching you how to fight so you'll finish them if you have to.
Exactly. Never do it if you don't have to. Yeah, run. I would say, listen, if you don't have to, just walk away from the fight. I think another great game to teach your kids, I taught this with my son. It's called Who Can Hit the Softest. So what you say is, hey, let's play a little game. Who can hit the softest? You go ahead and go first. So I remember he hit me. I don't even know. He's probably 5, 6, 7, and he hits me, and then I'm like, bam! He saw what? I was like, I lose. And it's like, what's the reaction going to be from the the guy you're around? And my son just like laughed it off. He was like, dang, I should have fallen for that. But it's also a good way to gauge what kind of violence somebody has, because the topic is angry men, right? So if we're angry for good reasons, that's great, like righteous reasons. But it's when we're angry for unrighteous reasons, or as Paradigm just said, finishing a fight that we don't need to finish. There's fights that we can walk away from, and that's a good thing. So
and it's a teasing too, real quick, is that I tease my son too. I tease my woman.
Yeah.
Right. And this inoculates you to getting triggered. Right. The worst thing you can do is be triggered, because like I said, whether it's a verbal confrontation or a physical confrontation, when somebody can get you triggered, they can manipulate your behavior and control you into doing something, acting out of character. And if you act out of character, that would be the example that Grid said, is, if I hit my wife back when she hit me, the consequences would have been way more than a black eye.
Absolutely.
And I think right now, currently in society, that we've gone away from drastically, is teaching the concept of Pyrrhic victory to young men. So
Arthur Dye, I'm sorry, Arthur Dye down here is, so why do we think that women are statistically more likely to engage in domestic violence? Lesbian couples have the highest rate of domestic violence. Yeah, so that's strictly emotionalism. That has nothing to do with the capacity for violence. That's just emotion getting away from them, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got to do with consequences as well, because the same way that, because I'm the oldest of 5, like I said, I had 2 little sisters as well, and they got to see us fight, and they also tried to participate. I'll give another anecdotal example of one day my sister decided she wanted to do a headbutt contest with me.
Oh,
Right?
no.
The youngest of the 2, right? And she's just like, my head's bigger than yours. I want to do a headbutt contest. And the thing is, she wasn't stupid, so she was smart. She decided she was going to put a helmet on. So she goes and puts my snowboarding helmet on to do the headbutt contest. And all I had to do was boom, headbutt one time, and immediately, and it's just like, and she's like, you win. Like, I'll never do that again. And it's just like, with a full-on snowboarding helmet, I headbutt her, and she understood the consequences of violence then. Right? My sisters both got taught, how to actually fight men if they had to, but they were taught to behave in ways that would avoid that sort of confrontation, not dressing inappropriately out in public in certain places and walking in certain places, that they shouldn't be alone, those sort of things, right? Stuff that we teach women now, that if you tell women that, oh, you're slut shaming her. Just like, no, we're teaching her how to be smart so she doesn't get victimized by the small percentage of men who are fucking animals and will take advantage of those situations.
So Cheryl says, and I think this is valid. There are too many men that don't have that control. That's exactly what we're talking about. I'm sure she means seen a man yell at a 1-year-old for messing up a video game. So in that case, you don't have a man there, you have 2 children.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about this current culture. And when I say current culture, I really mean like those under 30. And I understand that includes some, that gets pretty close to including some of the panel. But because while it seems like almost everyone on the panel had very similar experiences, let's all freely admit that since, somewhere around 1990, the school system, the overwhelming majority of society has been pretty anti little boys being little boys.
Yep. We had the whole Gillette commercial. Remember that?
Obviously, before that, I remember even when I was in school, it was kind of that going that way. But we still had male gym teachers. We still had a bunch of things, and we can go down the road of, which I don't think we need to, but we could go down the road of how they've removed most male gym teachers because with the accusations of inappropriate behavior with young men and women. So now we have mostly female gym teachers, which is leading to an entirely different problem. And seems to be very common these days.
There's new ones on the female side every month. Rolo puts tweets out about it all the time.
That's right. That's right. We all know what we're talking about there. So what we've seen is this gradual, consistent, almost predictable slide since, really just, probably late 80s, but definitely picking up speed through the 90s. And I think that, again, young men under 30
that was about the time that civics dropped out of schools too.
That's accurate as well. And I feel like what we can accurately say, and accuracy matters, is that while not all young men in this demographic that we're talking about did not have the experience, because obviously some of you fine young men have, a large percentage of young men have not had that. And instead of talking about how we improve that, what we end up doing is we very consistently, to be honest, place the blame, instead of placing the blame on the way society allows young men to grow. We want to place blame on the nuclear family, on bad fathers, bad mothers, bad living conditions. We want to make it very, and by we, I mean society, not me, not you fine gentlemen. But society wants to tell us that it is conditional and environmental at home, and therefore but it has nothing to do with the fact that they're not even allowed to call each other dumbass in school. If I was if I couldn't call my friends a dumbass, I don't know what I would have done because they were all dumbasses, you know. I just don't understand.
Yeah, there's lots of words we can't use anymore.
Oh, a whole lot of words we can't use anymore.
Words have meanings now, guys. You can't use words anymore.
Yeah.
Use
words.
Words
I do agree with what you. Right.
Words are violence. Yeah.
I do agree with what. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Words hurt.
I do agree with Grid with what you said, Grid. But I also have to say one thing is that we also have a lot of bad parenting. There's just not a lot of parenting. A lot of people are divorced.
I'm not dismissing that.
Co-parent things like that, and it doesn't work. It doesn't matter how bad.
Here's my problem with that. I had a stepdad who didn't want to be a dad. He was not ready to be a dad.
Right.
My mom could not control me. I was very fortunate enough to have very strong men in my life throughout my entire life to teach me how to be a good man. And I was allowed to play rough and tumble, to get into fights. I went to a military school where I polished that off, and I became I took it further than anybody else in my family did. But my brother knows what it's like to get punched in the mouth, because I beat the living crap out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that has served him well in life, because he doesn't mouth off to people. Right.
No, I think violence is it's important. I remember as a kid, my cousin thought it was I don't know what we were doing, playing video game or something or watching a show, and he kept poking me. I felt like it went on. I don't know. Obviously, it's been probably 30 years now. And he just kept going and going. I'm like, dude, bro, I'm going to freaking freak out. And he just kept going and doing it. And like, I picked him up.
Stop touching me game. Like, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
Yeah, no, he was actually touching me though. And so
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what you do when you play the you're not touching me game. Like, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
Right.
That's my brothers did that to me too. Trust me.
But I picked him up and threw him through the closet. I remember his mom coming home.
Perfect.
And he was like, I'm going to go tell on you. I was like, okay. And my aunt's just like, yeah, well, don't do that. If you do that, you're going to get your ass kicked. And I'm like, thank you. Exactly.
Solid Snake for $4.99. How about picking and choosing your battles and engaging when the aggressor is doing
what you find immoral?
Something that we find immoral. Look, yeah, absolutely. That has more to do with just growing up and understanding what morality is. Hopefully you have a church. I hate, because I'm really not qualified to get into religious discussions. But hopefully you have a church or an organization that really resembles and is in fact a church to help you with morality and understand when fighting is okay. And hopefully there are enough old men in your church to tell you that sometimes you need to punch a bitch. by bitch, I mean a man right. Not acting like a man. You know, I literally had I was probably like 13, 14. And I remember I was at church basketball, and there was a guy, he was a jerk. And unlike all the other churches, our church actually, all of the people who played on the team actually went to the church. We didn't go into the high schools and recruit players out of the high schools to play on our church youth team. And so since half of these guys weren't actually in church, they didn't have the same background as the rest of us. And I remember there was this one kid, and he was just a jerk. He was a jerk. And I ended up getting into a tussle with him after a game one night. And I thought I was going to be in trouble. I thought I was going to get kicked off the team, because this is church team, right? Like I have a thing in my head that's been there my whole life about how you don't do things like that when you're involved with church activities, right? And I honestly thought I was going to get thrown off the team. And I had one of the old men, take me aside, who was a coaching staff sort of guy, and he's like, "Hey, man, you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm fine." And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Man, I mean, you really got into that guy." I'm like, "Yeah, he just it wasn't just that he wasn't being just a jerk to me. He was being a jerk to other smaller players on our team. Again, we didn't have 6 foot tall high school, all-stars. We had church kids. Okay. Like legit 13 and 14-year-old dudes. Like they weren't all 16-year-old varsity players, right? we had legit church kids. And I'm like, yeah, he's just kind of being a jerk, and he hurt a couple of smaller kids, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And now this was at a gym that the games were held at. This wasn't at a church, thankfully. But I popped the kid pretty good, and I thought I was in trouble. But the guy's like, "Hey, you know what? It's a good thing you did, because I'm not allowed to hit kids." And he said, you he's like, I was wondering if anybody was gonna stand up to him. He's like, I'm gonna tell everybody I talked to you about it. You're not gonna do it again. You're not gonna do it again. And blah blah blah. And I walked away with like a whole new respect for the old guys at my church.
Mm-hmm.
And because you kind of think the old guys at the church are just kind of,
fuddy duddies, yeah,
just funny, fuddy duddies, yeah,
Hey,
right.
You get Grid. You got 2 super chats.
Yeah, I've got to get to some chats, guys. Solid Snake 499 sends in. What about picking and choosing your battles, then engaging with when the aggressor is doing? Yeah, I think that I just did that. That was the church. I mean, look, if it's a moral, it's a moral. I don't differentiate. I'm an equal opportunity smacker.
I like that.
Wherever you left is a right, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
Every lefty gets a right. Beaten cheeks
I have to write that down.
$50. Dang, son.
Yeah.
Shout out to us, real men and our soft guy ever, forever, Drizzle, Slay Kings. Beaten cheeks is a liar. He is not a soft boy. He is fibbing. He is.
He's funny though.
He's actually. I believe that he's going to walk the path of righteousness. I'm praying for him. I think we all should, and I don't say that lightly. I generally do not pray for people, but I want Cheeks to start walking a clearer path, because he's not struggling in life, but he's got some struggles. So we gotta help him out, guys. Cheeks is worth saving. And that sounds really mean of me to say. I say that a lot. I know that people kind of cringe when I say that, but I do believe that I'm not worthy of divining out or deciding who is and who is not worth saving. I can just look at it through my own value system and decide where I can put my effort, my limited resources. When I say that, that's what I mean. Don't anybody come at me like I'm a jackass any more than
because you don't believe you're beyond reproach either. You hold yourself to that same standard.
Definitely beyond reproach. I reproach myself all the time. I don't need you to do it. I'll do it myself. You can't even call a transmission a tranny anymore. That's true. Didn't go with that. Wow, I'm really behind on these chats. Let's see what else is going on.
You got the
school systems twisted our kids. My son tried to pull the "My Body, My Choice" card over me. What, Cheryl? Really?
Huh?
Telling him not to yell at his aunt. Oh, that's wrong. I hope he got a stern talking to with a belt by his father.
And then PKFRX had a $5
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I can only scroll so fast, guys. First actual school fight taught me that I could do a lot more than I expected. That's right. Men aren't allowed to discover what they're capable of anymore. That's accurate. I mean, it's what we've been saying all night. You know, like I don't know anymore, right? Because I haven't really hit anybody in a while. But I know there was a, you know, I weighed a little bit less then, and I could break, I could break ribs, and you know, it's, you know, you just, man's got to know his limitations.
Yeah, he made a comment before too, saying that he wanted to see me break a 2x4 on stream, and I haven't broken a 2x4 in many, many years, sir. But I don't know. Maybe I'll dust off the old knuckles and see what I can do one time. You might be surprised.
That'd be awesome.
I don't know. I'll have to look into it. Maybe they might try to get me on some promoting violence on YouTube type shit. So I don't know.
Man.
Oh gosh, you're probably right.
You're probably, yeah. I mean, that's actually probably a real thing. All right, all caught up on the super chats. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate your support. At some point, I am going to have to actually start really making this kind of more like an official sort of thing, and like caring about the money portion of it. But for right now, you guys are great, and I really appreciate all of the support. It means a lot to me. Yeah. Let's talk. Cheryl is responding. Let's see what Cheryl says. I did talk to him about it, and sadly, his father thinks it's okay. Okay, number one, get all the soy out of that man's diet.
For reals.
And we might,
this is the problem when you don't check young men that are angry, is that they start saying and doing stuff like that. And once again, it goes back to another quote from Dr. Jordan Peterson. You think you got to be scared of what a strong man will do. Just wait to see what a weak man will do.
Yeah,
right. And that applies to the mind, because like I said, the biggest problem is that people are weak in the mind, and if they're strong in body and weak in the mind, they do crazy things and hurt people.
Right. Well, and that's what PK I think was saying, and I think that was a perfect example where he said, "Hey, find out what we're capable of. We don't let men do that anymore. So when they don't know what they're capable of and they do something, it ends up being 10 times worse."
Yep. You got to know your limitations. That's why I'm thankful. Right. I didn't test my body just in terms of like fighting, but I also tested it in terms of physical sports. I did mountain biking, BMX, skateboarding, snowboarding, right? Sledding down a hill into a metal barn just for shits and giggles. The dent's still there. We could go there and take pictures of it. I've been thinking about doing that if it's still standing. I went back there and visited with my dad, and even, talked to him about the 2x4 that I punched in the wall and shit like that. So my girl's seen what I can do in terms of the 2x4 in the wall. Like they say, if you're going to punch a wall, don't punch the stud. My dad said, no, get good at punching the 2x4s so you can punch the stud and break the wall, not your fist. Right. But I digress.
Yeah. And I think, like I was going to say earlier, that we've gotten away from teaching men what a Pyrrhic victory is. A battle that, a fight that comes at too great of a cost. When we were younger, when I was talking about the supervised fights, the winner of those fights ended up getting double the chores afterward. And I know when we would say, "Well, hey, wait a minute, though," if it was our grandfather doing it, "Hey, we won. What's the problem?" And it's like, yeah, you did win, but now you're going to learn what happens when you win fights in life too. And it's true. You can't. Everything in life has good consequences and bad consequences. Yep. And typically, if you're getting into fights in the real world, you may win the fight, but you're probably going to jail. And you're probably going to deal with a lot more serious stuff on top of that. And that was his whole point to us, was this is what's going to happen to you out there. Yeah, you may win the day, but you lose the war. And this is going to show you what it feels like to win the day, but lose the war.
Yep.
So
we would have to get 2 days of chopping wood or whatever, when we would only have to do it for like an hour. Now we're doing it for 2 days,
I like chopping wood, though. You chopped up that oak.
Yeah, I was going to say that wouldn't be a punishment for me.
Yeah, that's not a punishment for me. I liked it.
I have to ask, have any of you guys read any of the articles that have been coming out lately about how supposedly video games are providing the outlet that young men need to understand violence and the causality of violence, and that they become what's the word, advanced enough that, or they're so advanced now that, and they're so close to reality that young men don't need to interact this way anymore, and not specifically young men. They're using the term people, so I'm assuming that that's open to men and women. But in this discussion, we're concerned with young men. What do you guys? Have you guys read any of this stuff?
I have not. But
I've only looked
because I used to work in the field.
Articles. I haven't read the whole thing, so I will digress. Yeah. I will not digress. I will allow you to have the opinion, because I've honestly not read a ton of it.
Yeah, I know I have, because my career before I retired to take my dad in and take care of him. I used to work. Yeah, thank you. I used to work as a group home counselor, right? And you have to learn all about the CPI model, which is crisis prevention model, when it comes to behavior management. And so you have to, through all the trainings and stuff, this was something that started to pop up I'd say my last 3 or 4 years doing the work. And I like video games. My son plays video games, and Music K still does as an adult. I do too, you know. I would never say I don't agree with the idea that video games are a proper substitute for vetting violence out of young boys or children in general, because it lacks the consequential factor after the violence.
Yep.
You get the appeasement of the initial violence, and like I said, was just talking about, you get the victory of the violence without the aftermath of the violence. So that's why I think that's not it doesn't hold weight.
No, it doesn't. Especially nowadays, because we can't. I got my first Nintendo system when I think it was 1980. I was like 5 years old. But nowadays, you have all that chatting that you can do in the games as well, and everyone's just yelling at one another because they know it's just, you can be an internet tough guy, right? You can just yell and scream whatever you want, and then people are like, "Yo, I'll give you my address, and you come over here and da 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 da." Nobody's doing any of that, bro. So it's like we have that. He nailed it. We have it. It gives you some sort of an outlet, but there isn't a consequence like Paradigm was talking about. Like, if he flinched, it's like, oh, okay, well, I got that wrong. I'm gonna get punched now. We don't have that consequence. We just have there's the first part where, hey, I can yell and scream at you, and I can get my anger out. But you're not understanding that the way you talk to somebody, when I don't think words are violence, I'm not saying that. But the way you talk to somebody, if you don't know who they are, the way you do something to somebody can result in something that's not good. So
yeah, that's just a new iteration of the thing that they tried to say back in the 90s, that video games cause kids to get violent.
Right.
And that was debunked. Right. This looks to me
over and over again
like a reiteration, like a bait and switch. Like they're like, well, we're not going to say it causes violence, but now we're going to say it relieves violence.
Right.
And by that's the same argument, just formed a different way.
Right.
It's dishonest.
Right.
It's intellectually bullshit. Right. If you actually look at the studies about like whether or not video games do cause violence, no, they do not. It can be a visceral, you can get very visceral about it. I used to rage on video games until I, started the same thing I teach my son now. Tell him, don't get mad, get good. Right.
Yep,
It's the same that John Macro talks about tennis, is that you focus your anger, right, into actually giving you more oomph, right?
Yep.
When you control your anger, you can do a hell of a lot more, because the anger is fuel and motivation. That's your chemical
and it's the good
system.
Yeah.
As your focus, right? It's just like a magnifying glass. Yeah, that light isn't going to do anything through a magnifying glass if it isn't focused. But once you focus it, you can punch through walls, right? So, like I said, that is the thing. When you know the techniques and all the things to focus correctly, you can do a hell of a lot more damage. And that anger is the fuel, that emotional catalyst. Right. It's in every man. Like you said before, men are capable of extreme violence.
Yep.
And so they need to be capable of extreme restraint. right?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
one of the things I always say, but a lot of guys, that's lost on them now. Why? Because of that same thing. The video games can teach you a level of violence and anger, but it doesn't teach you how to control it because there's no consequences.
Exactly.
Right? And that's
It's
why
just
a
like
lot
it
of
taught me how to shoot a
people,
gun, but once I shot a gun, it's a lot different.
yep, that kickback is a lot different in real life. Yeah. It's
You're like,
not the
holy
same
crap, okay,
thing.
well, I hit that, but holy moly,
To me, it sounds like an argument trying to say, well, practicing is the same thing as fighting for real.
right.
No, it's not. It is very different. You just fucking around, goofing off with your friends is not the same thing as getting punched by a stranger that's trying to rob you and steal your shit and incapacitate you, or maybe even try to, kidnap you or some shit like that, throw you in the back of a van, right? The level of violence in terms of when somebody has the intent of real, serious, life-ending harm in mind is different from you just punching your friend in the arm because you're goofing off.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So
what we miss here is that that violence in men is part of our nature. That's a part of an equation that you can't break off parts of the equation
Right.
and not have the other for it to work. And I think
accurate.
it's overly simplified for those from either men who don't like conflict. They'll oversimplify and say you can separate one piece of it from the other, which you can't. It's like women love to do that. They love to say, well, you men can separate your violence and be a soft man. And da-da-da. It's like, well, listen, in order to learn to be a soft man, even if that's true, you still have to learn how to be a soft man through controlling your violent tendencies regardless.
Right.
So you can't divorce the two.
Right. And it's definitely a long process learning that, to understand how long the process is that we have the violence within us, but to say, okay, I'm going to take a step back and relax.
I don't think that video games can teach that. I think that they can show you, they can give you an outlet, maybe like review account says video games act as a pacifier. You have the outlet and get it out of your system. Only the very small amount of extremely violent males do not learn from it. Now, I think this relies on a couple of presuppositions. First, that you've already learned how to control your anger and deal with violence. And second, that you're able to internalize what you're seeing or to lose yourself in the game, as they say, and just kind of internalize it to the point where you get that itch tickled, the need fulfilled. I'm not really sure how to express that, but the thing that I find weird about the video game argument is that it's not real. So you will do things in a video game that you would never ever do that you can't do in real life.
Yep.
Obviously, it's a video game. So saying that saying that it's an outlet for anything but maybe some nervous energy to me is kind of silly.
Well, so I say there's no consequence to it. So you might get some of that aggression out because you're like, yeah, da 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 da. But like you just said, there's actual things that you probably wouldn't do in real life that you would do in a game, and there's no consequence. What's the worst consequence? You die and then you restart another game.
Yeah. Like I said, it smells like a bait and switch to me. They're trying to bring back the old video games, cause violence in people. Like, oh well, if it's an outlet for it, it must be true.
This is actually, I really like this, and I saw his earlier comment. I'm not going to go search for it. I don't even remember what it actually said. It just kind of struck me that men need male only spaces, I think was the gist of it. I agree with that. That's actually illegal in California now.
Really?
You cannot have male only. And,
yes,
and actually,
it is.
Because of the laws, they actually, Damien, I'll bring you up in a second, buddy. I do see you. Just give me 1 sec. In California, they originally passed a law. Women pushed for the law so that men couldn't have male only gyms. The problem is that when they passed the law, they made it absolutely illegal to discriminate in any public business. You cannot have men's clubs. You cannot have
Oh.
male only establishments, period. The law was a shotgun law. And so there are no women's only gyms. So women's only, which was a gym that opened in California, ended up being sued and closed in California.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you. They ended up being closed because you cannot in California. That is against the law.
Stop it. Do you know the code for that?
No,
I would
not
love
off
to
the top of
read
my
it.
head.
No.
No? Okay.
I don't know it off the top of my head, but you cannot have. It is considered discrimination based on sex.
But can women have on the opposite? Can women have women only?
No, women only gym. So women only was a gym company that was for women only was a gym that was started in California.
Okay.
That was forced to close all of their gyms in California because of the law that women had forced passed so that men couldn't have male only clubs and gyms.
Yeah.
So
I live in California. I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I live here in California and I know.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can't have a male.
I lived in California for a long time too. I didn't know that.
Yeah. For women only, and I don't, is for women only still around? For women only gyms?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, they probably went out of business a decade ago, but it was an interesting case study because women pushed for it because they didn't want men's clubs. They didn't want gentlemen's clubs. They didn't want any of these organizations. So women actually pushed for this. They felt discriminated against. They should be able to go into all of the male spaces and do all of the male things. And they won. The problem is that when they wrote the law, whoever wrote the law wrote it the correct way and said there cannot be any discrimination based on sex. You cannot refuse to admit someone based on sex.
And they called it discrimination?
They call it discrimination.
That's not discrimination. Okay.
It is.
It started to cause chaos in the group home care system too, because in the group home system, boys and girls are separate. They're separate into their own residential facilities, right? Okay. And then, as towards the end of my tenure, we started to get the transformer youth being put into the girls' side, and immediately we started seeing massive issues with the transformer youth going into the girls' side as a girl when they're a boy and still exerting their male dominance as they would as a boy with the girls. And we started getting serious fights, serious injuries, just tons of stuff that we could see a mile away coming. And due to California and group homes, unfortunately, are all government run and government owned. All group home youth are wards of the state. So they're at the mercy of the state until they're adopted. So any crazy institution of any kind of crazy law whatsoever by the government directly impacts them right on the spot. And we can't really do anything to combat that, unfortunately.
And I think it's very important. And if we're going back to the angry thing, like if we look at society, when we had male only schools and we had female only schools, I think society is I understand that echo chambers can be a bad thing, but just having these like dormitories where it's men and women and all these things, it's not a good look. It hasn't helped society, and there isn't anything showing that it does or will or can. And that's a huge problem. I think that women should be able to get together, just be women. I think men should be able to get together and just be men and have not a safe space, but like a space that they can actually do that in.
So I agree with that. I agree with men's clubs. I agree with men's organizations. I agree with the Shriners. I agree with all of that. I don't have a problem with any of it. And I don't have a problem with moms for whatever. But, but the case was given that, that in California they should do that, and you can't do that in California. So
that's wild.
I thought it was very funny. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Hey, Grid.
Yes.
Grid, question for you. With all the changes with the
I'm getting every third word. Yeah. Go ahead.
Is that better?
That is better.
Okay, turn up the gain. Question: what's your opinion or take on the changes that the Boy Scouts are going through?
Oh gosh.
Oh, hang on. Before we get into that, I need to ask seriously, Shelby, because I may have missed something. I can't see the chat. The chat moves fast, and I can't actually see it.
Oh my God.
I would say a lot of men don't know how to something from single mom aspects. Can you clarify that? I'm not really sure what you're trying to say there.
I think you know what he's talking about. It's the same thing as why a lot of men are more emotional, and it's like goes back to the single mother household statistics, right? Like the same type of statistics that show that lesbian couples tend to be the most violent and whatnot. It's got to do with that emotionality and not emotionally regulating. When a mom teaches a young boy, the mother doesn't really have. You saw this back in the day with like Dr. Phil and whatnot, with these moms that had these violent sons that would literally abuse their mother, and they couldn't do anything about it, right? Because they didn't have the physicality that a father would to check the son when he was stepping out of line, right? And do it from such a young age. And like I even saw a video on Twitter the other day of this mom dragging her son out of school.
I mean, this goes all the way back to even ancient Rome.
Okay.
What do you mean? Elaborate. What's
Agrippina and Nero? You know what I mean? Nero was the biggest degenerate of all time. Agrippina.
Okay, I see where you're going, because his mom was he basically ran over his mom, did whatever he wanted. Yeah, I think in modern times, I think what we're really seeing is that young men have the physicality, and single moms especially don't, and they don't have anyone they can turn to. Because
except for other women, which doesn't help.
Yeah,
there's no father figure. They're afraid that if they complain, the state will take their kid away.
Yep.
It's kind of a bad. Once again, I am not qualified to give any kind of religious advice, except I will tell you that a church can help. Church can help. Will promise.
As long as it's not complementarian or egalitarian. They got to be somewhat patriarchal, otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah, Baptist church. Sorry, let me rephrase.
Yeah. You got to stay away from those middle ground, left-running churches.
Yeah, go to a church that still will tell you that you're going to hell.
Yeah,
if the church won't tell you that you're going to hell, you're in the wrong church. So. Thanks for helping me with the clarification. I forget all the time that there are churches out there like Joel Osteen who never says anything about going to hell. Only the good stuff, never the hey, don't do this shit.
The Protestant super churches,
yeah.
I'm technically, I'm a reverend. I can legally put it in front of my name as a title because I studied and I passed, right? And I've been reading the Bible. My mom was reading me the Bible before I could read, right? But a lot of these churches, I'll say, I've looked, most of them are corrupt. They're all about the money, and they're going to say all the woke shit to try to get you to comply with giving the tithe.
Right. And also, most of the churches
we're moving away. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
So it seems like we're moving. We kind of talked quite a bit about the aggression and the violence that young men have. It seems now that we're talking about that. There are two sides of the men's solidarity. Men stand together. Men's clubs. Men's sort of Boy Scouts. And I did say we would get back to it. I promise we will. There are two sides to this. From the men's side, I 100% believe that for men's health, men need to be able to socialize with other men free of women.
Yep.
Okay. That's not that we don't want them around. It's just for those couple of hours We need to be idiots
Absolutely.
and not be judged for it, right?
Nailed it.
We need to be complete assholes.
We're all idiots. Yep,
here's the other thing is that, you know, young men, especially the younger the man, the more of a fool he's going to act to impress girls if girls are around. And we do this on a subconscious level. So it's not even about that we want to exclude women. It's that we want the men to be clear-headed so they can act more rationally and learn, right? Because a lot of guys are easily distracted by women.
Right.
It's for the same reason why we don't put women on the front lines. It's not just because they can't do the physical tasks up to a standard that men can, but it's, we understand too that men have an instinct to protect a woman, and that also means at all costs, meaning putting the lives of all your squad at risk to save the woman when you normally wouldn't do a certain action just because it is a woman.
Yeah, the condition to that we've been programmed with to protect overrides reason in those moments, because that's how we've evolved. We have to protect the women and children at all costs.
At all costs.
Well, yeah, sure, but we also have to act like jackasses sometimes, and that's why you know, men go hunting together, men go and play. You know, look, I know there's a now I do not. I'm not a tennis player, guys. I don't really play golf. I don't do any of this. I will play socially occasionally, and usually I play when my wife wants to go. I'm like, yeah, I'll go play tennis with you. But I see these groups of men that go out and play tennis together or go out and play golf together every weekend, and there are no wives allowed.
Nope.
No chicks.
None.
Right? Like this is time when they can be dumbasses, they can smoke their cigars, they can drink their whiskey, and they can just be dudes for a little while. And I think that now on the one side, I 100% believe that men do that. Now, Arthur Daya made a comment. I'm not, and okay, I finally found it. It took me a minute. Again, guys, this is the chat stuff is crazy for me. Right? She says where she runs into the problem is, as a woman, is that men form business and professional connections that help their careers over non-business activities. If she's excluded, her career suffers. Now, oddly, my wife has a very similar sort of thing because she's not invited to the men's stuff, but but at the same time, they're not invited to the girl stuff. Now, in general, that is not a power dynamic that works out because there aren't as many females in high positions as there are males. So you can argue that, and successfully, that women are still disadvantaged by that. To that, I would say that some men are excluded as well. Not all men are included. It's just the way it is. If I don't, it's not fair. Life isn't fair. I don't have an answer. I will never have an answer for that. The best I can do is tell you that for all of the negotiations all of the power negotiations that you think happen on golf courses and on tennis courts and in strip clubs, divide that by 100, because realistically, the age of doing business that way is kind of gone.
Yep,
it's gone.
I don't do business that way. I don't go to strip clubs. Again, I don't honestly play tennis or golf. If I do business deals, they might happen over dinner, but I don't care who's there as long as they're involved in the deal. I do believe that at one point in our history, that was a very common thing. But I can't do anything about that. I don't have an answer for that. It just sucks. So,
yeah.
Anybody?
Hey, Grid,
the part that sucks more, real quick, is that when women try to do the same thing, they just end up infighting.
That's true. That is actually true. So women, when women have these clubs, they argue and fight and stab each other in the back and that sort of thing. And I agree with that. I mean, that's probably true. Tipper Gore. I ought to time you out for mentioning Tipper Gore in my chat. What the hell is wrong with you?
Oh no.
I'll time him out.
Your mic sucks. I'm going to take up a collection to get you a new mic. Damn it. Fix your mic. You, Boule. You, right there.
Hilarious.
Your mic is
Goulet.
breaking up really badly.
Her point there
All I hear
in
when you
chat
say
too
Goulet is Goulet.
is as accurate too, because what a lot of women have been finding too since the Me Too movement is that a lot of mentors will not mentor women because it's viewed as inappropriate, and now they also got to worry
100%.
about getting an accusation if the woman doesn't get what she wants.
Absolutely, especially unmarried women.
Yeah,
especially unmarried.
Or if she's offended by what the men say among themselves.
That's true. That's very accurate.
Well, I'm saying even like for the one-on-one mentorship for women in the career, like the thing is, if that the woman doesn't like the thing is sometimes a mentor has to be hard on the mentee and tell them they're a dumbass and they're fucking up. And a lot of times, if a guy says that now to a woman, oh, you're bullying, that's not fair, and it has backlash in the court of public opinion.
And don't get me wrong, we are bullies, but it's not intentional to be like, I'm going to steal your lunch money or give you a
Turns out to be harassment.
Yeah. We're just bullies because we're capable of violence, and that's just who we are.
Well, here, this is an
how many
uncomfortable
people
truth
have
of
been
life.
bullied? How many people have been bullied in their life?
I'm glad I got bullied.
You know,
and this
I was
is
a little guy.
this is-
You
this
guys
is
won't believe this, but I
uncomfortable-
was a little kid. I was small.
Yeah,
The
me too.
whole reason that I started taking martial arts
It's the whole reason I started doing martial arts.
Yeah,
I was a little guy.
I used to fight the bullies. I used to go attack the bullies who were bullying other people. That's how I used to get
how big
suspended.
were you? I mean, I was 4'9" till I was almost 16.
Yeah, I was in that.
I'll admit I was 6'3". So
yeah,
I was not.
I was 6'3". I trained with the football team. So
I grew a foot in high school. Finally, I was like, yes.
Yeah. When I was in, so that's kind of the same thing. When I was a freshman in high school, I weighed like 140 pounds, 150 pounds, freshman in high school, and I fought all the time. And I was strong. I was country boy, Hall hay guy, steak tobacco. I was redneck strong. That doesn't mean it. I was still a little kid. So big kids felt like that they had a free ride. I was an angry young man.
Yeah, me
be
too.
honest.
Yeah,
I was very.
I had a lot of anger.
That's why I was breaking 2x4s, because my dad taught me how to do that, but I wasn't even see, here's another funny thing is that because I was the one that had the most of the training, I had the responsibility to not hurt my brothers when they would even attack me and act up. Right. So I actually had to go easy on them. And then my dad was an alcoholic. So the way that I vented my frustration was we had a wood pile out back. Right. And it usually need to be broken down to burn. So that's what I would do. I started out using like pickaxes and sledgehammers, but that shit got boring. It wasn't enough. So I just used the bone density training techniques that my dad taught me. And I just started breaking things with my hands, right, to vent that frustration on inanimate objects rather than people. Right. So that's what I would do. I'd just be out back for hours, just breaking shit with my bare hands. So I digress.
So you were taught the responsibility of the power you had.
Yep. That frustration, I vented it.
And that's why we all like chopping wood.
Exactly.
Probably
it's a useful skill. Like I said, and that I was teaching my son the last weekend when we were out at grandma's. He was learning how to use a hatchet.
Right. Yeah, it's like
slaughtering livestock for me.
MDB, welcome. I am glad you made it. I don't remember actually seeing in my chat before, but that's cool. Dude, I can't keep up with chat. I apologize. I keep apologizing for it because I feel like I should be able to, but unfortunately I can't.
Grid one didn't realize he was this popular, so
I did. Yeah,
he's gonna have to learn. He's gonna have to get his boomer pants on and learn how to enable slow mo and stuff like that pretty soon here.
Funny, I like boomer pants. That's trademarked now. Trademarked.
But like with men, right? I don't know if you guys seen the videos that you have like women and they go out there screaming, they're hitting things.
That's awesome.
Cool, great, but I think it's more like what Grid was saying, more stoic. Just smacking that wood with the axe and just cracking it. We don't have to go rah, rah. It's just doing it over and over again.
Grid one, I'm gonna have to apologize to Are We Not Men? He seems to be very triggered by my anecdotes of breaking wood with my hands.
That's all right. I mean, look, if you want to break some wood, break some wood. That guy Joel sucks. I agree. Joel Osteen. So here's the thing.
Yeah,
I used to not have a problem with Joel Osteen. Look. Everybody's got their thing, right? It's his thing. Who cares? My only real problem is that in the last, I have not taken personal accounting. I think in the last probably 10 years, he's never once in a sermon said that someone's going to hell.
No.
And you can't, you look, maybe in some religions that's cool to put the best face on it and to be all welcoming and everything. But at some point, I come from the Southern Baptist, hellfire, brimstone. We're all sinners. We all suck. You have to go out every day and make yourself better. I come from that traditional Southern Baptist. We're all going to hell. You gotta save yourself every day, right? And you gotta save yourself every day. So repent every day. You are a sinner, and that's the way it is. I come from that, and so when I hear somebody that's just all, and it doesn't trigger me or anything, but I'm always like, really? I don't know how we can be reading the same book, because that's not what it says.
If you want forgiveness, you got to believe in Christ, and you have to ask for forgiveness and mean it in your heart of hearts, because you can't bullshit God. Right. And that's another thing. Like, God will forgive anything. God will forgive anything, but you got to really be sorry and really mean that shit.
Right. Yeah.
So let's see. Gentlemen clubs in California probably ignore the discrimination law. No. So California is really serious about that shit. They will shut you down. It is if they even get a whiff of it. Somebody comes in and they complain that you are not allowed. So if you're a bar that only serves women, you will get shut down. If you are a bar that only serves men, you will get shut down. That's why they don't technically have gay bars in California. You can't do it. It's discriminatory.
No, that's wild.
Whoa. Isn't it a different kind of discrimination not to allow them because we'd segregate that type of population?
Well, you can't even say segregation in California, man. What's wrong with you?
Well, I mean, yeah.
You're going to go to jail. You can't go to California. You're going to go to jail. You're going to go to jail. They're golf clubs, yacht clubs, gyms, etc. Men are socializing, forming business relations, make it hard. I don't know. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I just don't. But the biggest reason, Arthur Dye, that you've lost the ability to network is the human resources department.
Yeah.
And their very aggressive and yet effective campaign to educate everyone about sexual harassment, even where it doesn't exist. So that's where you lost that. I'm sorry. Don't need a safe space. I don't know what we're talking. I literally have no idea. So
I had a friend get fired for saying a couple of words one time that was totally taken out of context, but used against him just because the girl didn't like him.
That fortunately has toned or calmed down a little bit, but I have actually heard that in the past.
Yeah. Depends on the context, but it does still happen.
I get that. So, and again, we all have to acknowledge that Arthur Dye operates in very rarefied airspace, and where there are very few women in her career, so they probably don't even know how to react to her. Yeah, career field in general. Yeah, okay. I'm getting through it, guys. You guys got to calm down. Let's see.
Hey, Viking, you want to teach Grid One how to slow down the chat?
I slow it down. I just stop it. I'm not even paying attention.
Well,
I'm just scrolling through.
You can actually limit the amount of messages people can do. It's called slow mode.
I know. So, I know. I can go into slow mode. And maybe I should, but I don't know. don't. I only play tennis with my wife, so that makes it not gay. But, look, first of all, how can tennis be gay when you are literally sharing the court with hot bodies in mini skirts?
Oh no, I haven't played tennis in years, but tennis is fun, and it does require a high level of strength and hand-eye coordination. So I don't see how that would be, like it's a very physical sport.
Yeah, I get that, Arthur Dia. Again, unfortunately, you're in rarefied airspace. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. That's not nice. Don't say that. All right, I'm getting there. Wow. All right, I'm just rolling through. So this is why she's in rarefied air, just to let you guys know.
Cardiac.
She is highly trained to be highly trained.
Yeah.
So, wow. All right, I'm just gonna roll. I'm not reading all this. You guys are gonna have to super chat. That's a lot. That's way a lot. Holy crap. Clover Tack is in. Didn't even see you come in, brother. Good to see you. Did he say something about it? Yeah, beards are work and commitment. That's why I don't have one. I just shaved tonight, actually. Actually, the reason I shave is because my wife prefers the smooth touch. So just because I've been married 19 years doesn't mean that doesn't mean a thing. All right. Anyway. All right, guys. So
Arthur D has a serious job. That's wild. I mean, she's holding people's life in her
crazy,
hand.
Right?
That's a crazy job.
That is yeah.
Wow.
She's again, she operates in rarefied air. So it's when she talks about something, that's why I said I got nothing. I got nothing for her because unfortunately, there's no club that she can join. So this is what it is.
That's like a life holding job. You're holding someone's life in your hand. That's crazy. That's
she's been on before. She's really cool.
A Facebook group, maybe.
A Facebook group for all two of them.
You'll get kicked, and you'll get kicked off that anyways if you talk about anything they don't like to see. They'll kick you off that.
Jess is in the house. I always put Jess up when she comes in, even though she's just saying yes to something. Jess is fairly funny, pretty hilarious. Apparently terminally single. I don't know what's going on with that.
Like I said, I got scared.
And so if somebody wants someone to simp to, I think Jess is probably the only one because she's never going to date again, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. All right. So we've talked about male aggression. We've talked about groups. I really want to, I really kind of like the idea of talking about the dynamic between men and women in various group settings, because I have no problem with my wife. So my wife is a member of several female only business groups, right? I don't care about that. I really don't. I mean, I don't actually have any groups I'm a member of. I refuse to have any, to be a member of any group that would have me. So saith Charlie Chaplin, so saith I. And yeah. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? What do you guys do for groups that you're in? And I gotta and I guess I'll lead off with the Boy Scouts changing their name to Scouts. They effectively did that 2 or 3 years ago anyway.
Right. Yep, they did, yeah.
So all they did recently is make it more public.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a nothing burger to me, because I was like, we've literally been calling it the Scouts for the past 3 years, I think 4 years.
I mean, I grew up in the hood, and I grew up doing the Boy Scout thing, but it wasn't like it feels like it should be. There wasn't any trips. Like, we met at a school.
You gotta get out of the hood, bro.
It was, well, I got out of the hood. I live in Pismo Beach, California now. Roger.
Oh, you're in California again?
No, yeah, I'm in California. Yeah, I'm in Pismo Beach. You
Never
know the
left
place
the
that what's it called? Not anymore. In the hood, I was in Hawthorne, Inglewood, Lawndale, Gardena area.
You got to get out of California, man.
I know.
First of all, you have
Bugs
way too
Bunny
much
was looking
beard.
for where I live. Come on, man. Bugs
You
Bunny's like,
have
hey, this isn't
way,
Pismo Beach.
you have way too much beard to be in California, bro.
Actually, I grew the beard because my wife wouldn't stop dyeing her hair, and I said, hey, you know what? I'm over this. I hate your dyed hair, so I'm just gonna grow out my beard because you hate me growing a beard. And then it's almost out of her hair, so maybe I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I was gonna say I know a few people from California. There's quite a few hipsters that have pretty big beards that are pretty impressive, but doesn't mean they're masculine. Just saying.
No. And I was the mustache guy, and then that got cool, so I stopped on that. I just been growing out my beard for a few years now. But yeah. But anyways, the scouts in my area, it's not like you see. It's not like I've read about it. It's not like about any of that stuff.
Nothing's
now that
like that in California,
the
man.
scouts, it's like what? Well, yeah, I think that's what it is exactly. It has to be regional because what we did was it basically felt like a board meeting. Now looking back,
Dude,
you'd sit
my kid tomorrow morning, I've got to take him over, and he's going to put his gear in the scout trailer, and they're going to go to Boy Scout camp he's going to be there for a week. And he's like super happy to get. He's been going to camp since while actually. I mean, since
we never had any of that. There was not even an option for that. So,
and he gets back from camp. He'll shoot regionals. Boulay, you've got to do something with your mic, man. I don't know what's going on with you tonight. I don't know if you've got a bad cable or a bad.
Mix it out and come back.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, it's just I don't know what's going on with this mic.
I'll be back.
All right, cool. That wasn't just me, right? Everybody heard that.
No, yeah, it's kept cutting in and out.
Yeah.
So he gets back from scout camp or Boy Scout camp. He will go. He shoots the state championships in sporting clays, and I think a week or two later, he goes to Atikokan, Canada, for I think a 10-day canoe trip through the deepest part of the wilds of Canada. Like it's so far north that there's no way to get there but helicopter.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, nothing like that where I grew up. So
yeah. You can't drive there. You can't snowmobile. Well, you could probably snowmobile there, but there's no snow on the ground, so it's going to be a problem. And you might maybe if you had a couple of days, you could ATV up there if you could carry enough gas with you. But there's so so he's going so far. I mean, and he's going to do that for 10 days, a canoe trip through Atikokan, and it's awesome.
Wow, that is awesome.
And
this is the scouts.
Yeah, last year he did. Let me see if I can. Do this. While I'm talking about it, I'll pull this up. Last year he did what was it? It was he did sea base down in Florida. He was down in the Keys, and they lived on a sailboat for a week.
What?
And yeah. So let me I'll do this really quick.
And so is he in an area where there's men and women?
No, I don't think there are any women. There are no scouts that are girls that are in his group. If that's what
because that's the whole point of the scouts thing, right? Is changing it to make sure it's not an all male thing.
So that's been in effect for a while, and actually there's an entire troop or whatever they call them, patrol. It's probably a troop. There's an entire troop that is locally that they're all female, and everybody's been making fun of them for a while now because no kidding, that's my kid on at Sea Base last year. Did my mic mute?
No, we can see.
Wait.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
That's
So he's off in the
crazy.
Florida Keys. He's sailing. He's having a good time. Looking like a Chad. So
Yeah, like fun. That was another skill.
Your wife is Chinese. I'm like, hang on. My brain was like,
yeah. My wife is Chinese. Yeah. So my
I was
kid
like,
looks
wait,
Chinese.
what? No, what?
But
it looks so much like you. But I was like, wait, how is this kid?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird, right?
Boating is
That's
another one
fucking
of those
funny.
skills that a lot of people don't have. Like my dad taught me like canoeing, portaging, and stuff like that as well. Right. So it's just like those are all like, stuff that the scouts used to teach. Because my grandfather, that was actually how my mom and dad more or less met. Was that my granddad, my mom's dad, was a scoutmaster, right? And my dad, being a troubled boy, getting into his first high-speed chase at like age 12, got put into Boy Scouts to try to teach him some manners and some respect and try to get him on the right track. And it kind of worked, but
I'm sure it did.
Well,
yeah. So, so like kids today, like again, I mean, you see my kid, just the expression on his face is just like awesome.
He looks like he's having a grand old time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so I believe that there's things that every young man should know.
Right.
And it starts off really pretty simple, right? Every young man needs to know how to write a poem. Every young man needs to know how to write, write, not just like scribble words on paper. I mean, write a letter, write a text, write directions, write a technical, how to deal, right? You need to know how to write.
Chronicle
Every young man
things.
needs to know how to do that, period.
I think chronicling is something that's important too. That goes into that.
Yeah, diary, all of it. You need to know how to write. You need to know how to write a poem. You need to know how to ride a motorcycle. You need to know how to play pool. You need to know how to play tennis, golf, and a good argument can be made for what's that other stupid game that people play that I don't? So it's golf, tennis. There's another like badminton or something. The stupid sports that aren't sports; they're games. You need to know. A young man needs to know how to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to know how to hunt. He needs to know how to sail a boat. He needs to know how to drive a power boat. He needs to know how to drive a car, and he needs to know how to fly an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to know how to play poker. He needs to know how to he needs to know how to conduct business. He needs to know all those things because those are just life skills.
Mm-hmm.
Those are just things that are important.
And also
make
to cook,
fire,
by the way.
build shelter.
A lot of men need to know
navigate
how to
in the wild.
Fishing, cooking, how to build a fire from nothing.
Yep, navigation,
stuff like that. Yeah,
all
navigation. My grandfather was a navigator. That's what he did in the Navy originally during the Korean War. Right. I actually still have his navigation tools and stuff like that. So, like, those are all fundamental skills.
How to prep animals after you kill them, proper eating, knowing how to, knowing that you have to bury the entrails, burn them, and then bury them, so you don't track other animals like bears and things to your location. All that good stuff.
All the skills of young men. Boulade, please try your mic.
Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta Echo.
That is
that's
way better.
Much better.
Wow.
Way better. Way better.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
My computer
Crisp.
defaulted to the microphone in my head in my earbuds.
Oh, I knew it was something like that. It sounded like you were.
Yeah. So now it's pointing to this.
That's that exclusive control stuff. When it starts switching out your mics and stuff like that, that's that exclusive control stuff in Windows. Please, I was given advice to that one guy who was asking about his issues. Please look that up. If you're going to be a content creator or engage with content like this, you need to disable exclusive control on every audio device and in your computer, both the headphones, the microphones, all that stuff. It all needs to be disabled for every single one in Windows. Just look up a video on how to do it. It's kind of easy once you know how to do it, but every device needs to be disabled in that, because in Windows, they enable that on purpose for the purpose of, like, say, if you're going to take a business call and you're doing something else, it wants to switch it over to that. Where like your Skype or whatever will automatically be engaged and be locked down, so that way something doesn't contradict it. But in terms of content creation, it's the exact opposite. You need all that shit turned off, and it's always enabled by default. And when you do a Windows update, it will reset it. So every time you do a Windows update, you got to go in and double check to make sure it's not re-enabled.
And make sure if you're using Wi-Fi to not let it attach to anything but the Wi-Fi that's yours, because sometimes it'll just not want to attach to your Wi-Fi. It'll attach to somebody else's, and it'll slow your shit down so much it sucks.
Yep. That's all what happens to me is when I shut down my computer, when it opens up, it has a default microphone and I don't care how many times I've changed it from default to the microphone I'm using, it will just randomly, like it did tonight, it will randomly select that mic. And everything, and it was my fault. I should have checked my sound before I started up, but I don't know why
that has to do with the mic being powered on, right? So in Windows, when it powers on, if it can't detect the other mic because the other mic hasn't been powered on yet, it'll detect the mic that is powered on the easiest. So it's usually going to be the shittiest mic it detects first.
Yeah, it's the internal mic. It's always the internal mic, which the internal mic's disabled on my laptop. So,
hey, Viking, what was that again? Where I needed to go to mask disable.
So in Windows, you go down to the right-hand side where it has a little speaker. Left click on that, and then you click on sounds.
The sound setting.
That'll pop open the Windows sound thing, and then for playback for each device in the playback, and this goes for the recording for each of the mics. You left click on the device, go to properties, go over to the advanced tab, and you'll see something called exclusive mode.
There'll be a
checkbox.
I'll find exclusive mode. That's
yep.
what I was,
and then you unclick that, hit apply, and then you're good to go.
Thank you, sir.
I do have SteelSeries software installed, and that's probably why it does it. It always selects the SteelSeries microphone. It's very funny that he knows that.
Here I am just leaving my computer on and up and running the entire time, so I don't have to turn anything back on or switch my settings.
Yeah, well, the two computers I run for this setup are both like I don't know if I want to say how much they're fairly expensive, and they each have 850 watt power supplies. So I typically don't want to leave them running 24/7, and I also typically like to power cycle my equipment anyway, as well as keep it turned off when I'm not using it, so it doesn't degrade slowly over time. If you're using just a regular computer, that's not the same for that's just more exclusive to my setup. Right, I got to power down the spaceship every night.
I got a $700 laptop.
Yeah, since we're doing a tech talk, I run my entire program off of. Now I'm on Wi-Fi right now. I'm not even hardwired in. I run everything off of an MSI Raider, and which it's a power hungry beast, but it's fast. It's just brutal. Like I can't even unplug it for more than about an hour before it's wanting to be plugged back in. But but it's the cooling fans. So if I leave my cup next to the cooling fans on either side, it'll warm my drink for me. So it's pretty cool. But okay, enough tech talk. Yeah, he does Asus. That's pretty cool. I had my kid used to have an Asus. It was the only laptop that he couldn't destroy that wasn't a tough flip.
Yeah, my laptop is an Asus, and a lot like the motherboards and stuff that I use, the Dark Hero editions and stuff like that. Like I use a lot of Asus stuff for my tech. Corsair is pretty reliable as well. MSI is good as well. I don't use as much of their stuff in my current setup, but they're also a really good brand in terms of reliability, as well as being able to actually deliver the power that you need. Because that's one of the things, like, we're still talking about tech stuff, like in terms of like graphics cards and stuff like that, you got to pay attention to the details, right? I've literally given whole classes in the Fresh and Fit Discord on how to select your PC hardware. So
yeah, it's interesting you say that, because when I was shopping, and I'm actually shopping for a smaller laptop. Now, I have a Raider 76, which is, it's a big, heavy ass laptop. It doesn't actually fit in any of my laptop bags, and it's really, like I said, man, it's just a power hungry beast. I'm looking for a smaller laptop, and I was looking at the new Alienware, and I forget what model, and a new Lenovo, and I think I'm going to go with the Lenovo simply because it looks like it actually can use all of the stuff that's in it. Like the video card is powered properly, and everything looks good.
Is it the Legion models?
It is a Legion model, yeah.
The Legion ones, I think, are the better ones for if you're looking for, GPUs and stuff like that. But the Lenovo's great. But I mean,
video stuff now. I don't even play games. It's just I'm doing so much video stuff.
No, yeah.
If I don't have good, if I don't keep the video card happy, I'll start getting really poor. Quality, and things just slows
I'm
down.
guessing Viking probably runs a 4090.
Yeah, the gaming PC has a 4090, and then the streaming PC has a 3090 in it.
Yeah.
So, but the thing that you're going to run into, especially if you're doing video stuff on mobile, is that you are going to be severely limited on the power output, and then you're also severely limited on the cooling, which will result in thermal throttling when you are maxing that system out.
Yep.
So you're going to get
why I went with the
content creation
MSI.
issues. Yeah, that's why if you're going to do content creation, I always recommend guys get a solid desktop with proper cooling and a good graphics card. So I like I said, I've given a whole class on how to do this for content creation and stuff like that. And there's certain things you got to know about that. If you're doing it on a laptop, there are some laptops that can do it, but you're going to run into those thermal throttling, those cooling issues, and the inefficiency in the power distribution, because it's just
loud in
limited.
general. I mean, you're doing too much on a laptop, your fan's gonna freaking freak out. So,
well, that's the thing. That's that cooling that you need.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. And again, that's exactly why I bought the Raider, is because it had literally the cooling system on this thing is ridiculous. Like it's just terrible. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's hilarious, but it's heavy. And it drinks power.
Yeah.
Like it's
exactly. You need the power to make
see
content.
me in a beanie and a sweater.
Yeah, I've got to have. I bought this before I was intending to make content. I actually got this because I was doing I was going back through a bunch of video, and I was doing a bunch of other programming stuff for ECUs and things like that, just car stuff. And I needed something that was fast and could run at a high rate all the time. And I wanted a laptop. I didn't want to, because I have to be somewhat mobile. Anyway, enough of the tech talk. I really appreciate everybody joining us for this tech talk.
One last thing, because I saw the comment to John. No, I can't help you run your PS5 faster. The reason why I started building PCs was on PS3, because I found out there was some bullshit that I couldn't replace the hard. I couldn't make the stuff go lag free from playing Call of Duty. So literally, because of the limitations on console, that's what got me into PC building, which is why I'm where I'm at now. And that was back in like 2012, 2013. So no, I can't help your PS5 go faster. Consoles are dog shit. I'm just gonna say it.
All right.
Well, they're not that. But yeah, I get what you're saying. And when I play on PC, I still play with a controller.
The spaceship has spoken. You can't argue with the spaceship.
the spaceship is nuts. It's really crazy.
Hey, Viking, NASA just called. They need their launch center back.
I work. I'll work for Elon now.
Yeah, there you go.
Jean-Luc Picard is jealous.
I think Andrew is going to do a TikTok invasion tonight. I'm looking through the announcements. I don't know if he is doing one, or if
he will be. I watched it earlier.
He dropped his.
He said he was.
He dropped last week.
I want to know how to do that.
Oh, it's easy.
I have the TikTok desktop, but I can't figure out how to find like a good group to like argue with.
Yeah. So just all right. So just because we've
You could always Elgato your phone.
Sorry.
Oh, he said you can Elgato your phone, so you can. I don't know how to do that, but you can. He's basically saying you can stream from your phone.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just yeah.
I think all you would have to do is run a StreamYard on your phone and do it that way.
Yeah,
I think that would work
for sure.
No, I haven't gotten the Neuralink yet, but yeah, that's part of the reason why I'm getting in such good shape, because when I can, I will be getting a Neuralink. Just saying.
Don't do that. Don't get Neuralink.
All right. Good deal. All righty. That's good, I guess.
I think you're freaked out, Grid 1, for a little bit.
Well, I'm trying to I've got somebody trying to send me a message, and it's for some reason it doesn't want to show up. That's fine. No, I saw that they had placed the first Neuralink. Is anybody following that? Anybody stayed up with it?
It's working good. The dudes, he's posting videos on Twitter and stuff like that, and playing chess with his mind and whatnot. It has about an 8-hour charge, so you got to recharge it about every 8 hours. But yeah, it fucking works.
All right,
that's scary.
Yeah, it scares the crap out of me.
Yeah. Oh.
I've been following from the start. The technology is solid. I do think that it's funny because the whole tinfoil hat thing, tinfoil hats may become more of a practical thing, because a lot of people don't know, like aluminum foil actually does deflect signals. So if you needed to lock down your Neuralink from getting Wi-Fi hacked, more or less a tinfoil hat would actually be partly effective. Although you'd probably want to get more of a Faraday cage style for the tinfoil hat.
Faraday cage. You imagine guys wearing Faraday cages around their head? It'd be hilarious.
It's basically like a tinfoil hat. Yeah, like I said, I find it fucking hilarious that because people, there is a concern, right? And this goes back to I reference the anime Ghost in the Shell. Like, I know the movie was a little bit dog shit and whatnot. They came with a live action thing. But if you actually watch the anime, like things like the standalone complex, aka mass shootings, things like that are a real factor, right? Yep. So a lot of the technology they talk about in that sci-fi, a lot of that stuff is coming true now. This is like the initial. We're in the phase 1 of cyberpunk, guys. Just want to let you know the spaceship has spoken once again.
Yeah, we all thought it was going to be Back to the Future, but yeah, it seems like more like the video game stuff got it correct.
Viking's going to start a whole new YouTube channel. It's going to be called The Spaceship.
I mean, I'm cool to bring suits of armor back.
Hey, yeah. Got to make it aluminum though.
Well, and those suits of armor are going to be the servo and piston powered, and they're going to be tied into the Neuralink, and you're going to be, like I said, the future is going to be wild. Fact is stranger than fiction. Like, think about all the sci-fi and all the anime or whatever you want to talk about. Like, all this shit is coming true in real time. It really is.
Man, okay, Brandon, I got to stop you there. Where's the hoverboard?
We got drones.
Who cares about drones?
I
want a hoverboard.
Quadcopters. Yeah, you're going to be able to hover with them. They already have rideable quadcopters, man. Like, look it up.
I don't want a quadcopter. I want a hoverboard, man.
So I saw where that somebody's like actually built a hoverboard, but it's really like power hungry, and it's not efficient, and all of the things that you would suspect that it would be, it is. Because it's just the way.
See, the big reason why we don't have hoverboards and things like that, and even hover cars, is because of the power limitations, and because of all the because I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole real quick, so hold tight, guys. We're gonna divert. But the thing is that most of the power limitations are solved. Like going back to what you were talking about the other day, Grid, about the narratives right?
Yeah.
Remember what I was talking about? I hated the end of the world narrative. The same thing goes with the energy crisis. The energy crisis is bullshit. It is completely solved by nuclear tech, and we are just simply not using it.
Yep.
Right? It can be much smaller, it can be much better, and it can power things for extended periods of time when we're actually going to get the flying cars. Like right now, they're trying to use batteries, but I guarantee in the next like probably 50 to 100 years, like all these cars, like the tech that Elon is building with the Teslas and stuff like that, we're going to have nuclear powered flying cars. The only reason why we don't have it yet is because people are scared of it due to all the fear mongering that's happened over the last 100 years about nuclear tech, right? But most of the nuclear tech that's fucked up is because they were using outdated designs that weren't allowed to be upgraded due to all the environmentalists fear mongering.
And no offense, but Chernobyl happened because Russia. So
it was supposed to be
Japan
decommissioned.
happened because of bad engineering.
Well, yeah, exactly. Right. They didn't think that they could get hit by a tsunami and an earthquake at the same time. They didn't predict that.
And the United States
Navy this is where self-terminating reactors designs that were developed after those were built, they should have been decommissioned and then the new ones rebuilt, but this takes money and time. But once it's up and running, you don't have to worry about this stuff. The self-terminating reactors are a real thing. You can look it up.
Yep.
We don't even have to use those anymore. Those are outdated now as well. But the interesting thing about the Japan thing is it was just so there's something to be said about the Japanese mentality of just arrogance. And they had plenty of time to shut that reactor down and leave the area. They made conscious decisions to not do that. And that's why that happened.
Okay.
All they had to do was,
which is also why you don't hear about it, because they'd have to admit that. Nobody wants to talk about that. All right. So if we want to talk about energy production, I don't know about micro, nuclear reactors like the Tony Stark fusion reactor in his chest, but thorium reactors are a real thing, and the thorium reactors can be in your neighborhood. You would never know it was there. It would provide power for an exceedingly long time, for an exceedingly large area at a very low cost and no danger, really. Thorium reactors.
The hardest thing about what is it? It's run with sodium fluoride, if I remember correctly. It's a sodium fluoride mixture that the thorium reactors run on.
Yeah, it's molten salt. Yeah.
Yeah. And they do work. They've been tested. They had one running for 11 years straight, producing power at a university, and then they shut it down because they're just like, oh, it hasn't been proven to be effective, and it's too difficult to maintain the salt reaction and mixture. It's just like, but it's safe. And the thorium is in everything. We literally throw it away when we're mining other things. But yeah, that's another thing. So yeah, I'm aware of the thorium reactors too.
Yeah, the thorium reactors are really the best option currently.
So quote unquote, it's not oil and it's not profitable.
Exactly. It's the same thing with the nuclear ones, like the nuclear reactors that we have now. You store the nuclear waste in glass that's then encased in steel, and then it's put into the ground, basically drilling holes, and you can literally store it on site and literally put it back down where the radiation comes from in the first place, right? So there's no real issue with disposal of nuclear material as well. Like the way that we're doing things like 50 to 100 years ago is fucking bullshit. We have all the answers to solve all these problems. It's publicly available information. I've looked it up before.
The United States Navy has been operating nuclear reactors since USS Nautilus safely and effectively.
Yep.
Well,
so
what's
the
interesting,
United States has the experience.
What's interesting is that all of these guys, well, not all, but many people point to the, and then I'm gonna pivot the discussion a little bit here, but a lot of people talk about how dangerous nuclear is, and yet every single aircraft carrier in inventory and every single submarine in inventory are powered by nuclear reactors. And they have been for like 50 fucking years, guys.
Yep.
And not
USS
one sailor's
Nautilus.
walked off with glowing balls. I mean, at least not from the reactor. I mean, I'm not saying that some things didn't go down in Tijuana.
Maybe a little spit shine was put on it or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not saying
not from the reactor
in Tijuana that happened. I'm just saying, it didn't come from the radioactivity. So that's
it
all
gives
I'm saying.
new meaning to the words in the Navy, captain's mast.
That's right.
Oh, shit,
all right, guys. So one of the interesting things that I popped out of chat here is body armor. I'm gonna throw down the discussion. The best body armor material is the ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. Ceramic is nice, but it's not multi-hit capable, and steel is nice, but it's heavy as fuck. And ultra high molecular weight polyethylene floats, and it is multi-hit capable. Fight me. Go ahead.
What about tungsten?
Tungsten? What do you like, Schwarzenegger? That's heavier than steel.
I mean,
get to the chopper.
Are you gonna stand there? You're just gonna stand there.
Yes, but you can also. It's not like we're talking about 10-inch thick, but yeah, okay, all right, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying we've come a long way with tungsten, so much that we can have a tiny little wedding ring that feels like it weighs nothing and is almost indestructible. So
tungsten, unfortunately, is very hard and it's very fragile.
Right. It can crack, right? It's almost like not like a glass, but it cracks. Yeah, I get that. But I mean, being stabbed, I don't.
I have multiple body armor because you never know. This is.
Oh, here we go.
This is plastic, polyethylene. Very light. Very light.
Expensive.
$100, $120.
Right.
Well, that's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
That's not bad at all.
Good golly.
Where's Clover Tech? Damn it.
Yeah.
In the chat. There he was.
I want to fight. Come on, somebody fight me. I want to fight.
Wait, that's only $120?
Yeah, I think it's $140.
Yeah, modern body armor is not my area of expertise, and so that's the thing. Like, I talk a lot of shit, but I typically only talk shit about shit that I know, and I don't know that much about body armor. I usually defer to gentlemen like yourself if I want to get advice about stuff like that. So,
yeah. This has ceramic, and it's that one has ceramic in it. That's almost as light. It's almost as light. It's just not as light. Steel is just ridiculous.
So what is polyethylene? What is it exactly like?
Plastic.
You said it's plastic, but
it's milk jug. It's milk jug material.
Really?
Yeah.
Ultra high molecular weight polyethylene.
Okay. All right. Wow.
You can look it up.
That's crazy.
John Dredman, Kevlar only works in soft armor, and it will hurt. It will hurt so bad. Cam the King, that is actually rated for 308, except for the armor piercing rounds that you can't get. I believe are currently called brown tips in inventory. I forget what they call.
So the polyethylene that the armor you showed, is there any bullet that can go through it?
I'm sorry?
Sure.
Is there any?
Oh, yeah. Body. It's an interesting thing with body armor because it only stops, specific threats. And even then you're,
it can only absorb so many impacts before
it
even
ceramic
starts to break
fractures.
down.
Ceramic is good for up to the 308 armor piercing and the new tungsten tipped 223, which is also, I think, a brown tip, what they call a brown tip. But speed kills, Peaches. And like you can get like my 300 short mag, you're toast. That's a 208 grain projectile moving 3,007 feet per second, and it will go through body armor.
Yeah, there's this channel called the Bell Life. I don't think they're on anymore. I think they got kicked off of YouTube. But they had a channel. I forget what it was. Anyways, they tested a bunch of body armor, and I think they went to the highest one they went to was 50 caliber. And just watching how interesting it was, like putting the vest on this dummy thing and just shooting it over and over again. It was really interesting to watch because it was funny because some stuff just didn't do anything, and other rounds just completely annihilated it. And then there's this one part where they leaned it against a tree, and like the tree looked like somebody set off a piece of dynamite. So it just the whole body armor thing is super interesting to me.
I think Clovertack went to sleep. It's probably past his bedtime. The body armor is usually I'm sure he doesn't mean cake. He probably means dust. After a hit or two, it's compromised. Not the ultra high molecular weight body armor. It will take multiple hits from depending on what it is. And you can't do anything about the force, right? So my 300 Wisdom 300 short mag, it's just a beast of a round, and so I had a soft tip hunting bullet go through complete pass through at 100 yards, a half-inch piece of steel.
Wow. I believe it.
And it just didn't even, it was a spinner, so it didn't even spin it. It just went right through it, which I actually really thought was funny.
At 100 yards. Wow.
Okay. Cam the King, hit me in Discord, man. You can send me a PM there. Somebody spam the Discord link for Cam the King. Send me a T3 carrier. You can give me, I can give you an opinion on it. But even if you were wearing like really heavy steel armor, which could in theory stop most armor penetrating rounds, the impact alone from the energy released from a 208 grain bullet going anything over 2,800 feet per second, you're toast. You're toast. I mean, the amount of trauma, the amount of force on your chest. No, you're.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing with armors of any kind. You're still going to suffer some kind of internal injury.
Yeah, it's so bad. Deadman, the military actually doesn't use very much Kevlar except in the helmet, and that is for small arms fire only, is my understanding. I do not believe that we have a helmet in inventory that is rated for rifle rounds. I think it's all 9mm pistol. So
cover is still key. Not getting hit is still the key to surviving. Like the body armor is there as a last resort, right? That's like if you fucked up or you got the jump on or something like that. Like it's not supposed to be the primary defense.
I think we used to think that, but now I think that what modern combat's taught us is you're going to get hit. You can take a hit in the arm and keep moving. You can take a hit in the leg and keep moving. You cannot keep moving if you take a hit to your core. You will stop moving.
I think you need to start a channel where you just use all your weapons and all your ammunition and show us different things that you can shoot at and see what happens.
Oh, there's too many of those out there, man. I don't need.
Yeah, but we like you, so we'd watch your channel.
Oh, you like me? Yeah, okay. Yeah,
well, that's one of those things, like going even back to what we were talking about before about like real violence, right? Real force, like you can't. John Wick would not work in real life.
No,
you get hit that many times. Your willpower will only take you so fucking far.
Yeah. Homie's wearing a suit. Like, come on.
Well, you see, though, so you're talking about like those are all pistol bullets, and so in theory, if you could, it's an interesting dynamic because the way that they're showing it is it's like these disc, like dragon scale, that in theory, if it's loose away from you, that it has that arrow catcher effect of not allowing the penetration, but also decelerating that projectile. So that's interesting. I don't know how much it would work. The problem is that he always gets at least one through, right? And it shows every time he gets hit, it's bad. And I've seen guys get hit in soft armor before, which is what Deadman's talking about. Deadman's talking about like the Kevlar soft armor, body armor that goes underneath either your chest rig or your plate carrier, or under your uniform shirt if you're a law enforcement officer, where you only have to wear soft armor. And your biggest threat there is getting stabbed, right? Like the only reason to really wear soft armor is you're going to get stabbed or you're going to get shot with a pistol, and that's all your concern. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute. We're going off the deep end. Everybody's going to get mad and start leaving the chat because I'm talking about man stuff. So the big problem is, and look, we have solutions to a lot of these problems, right? Like if you have your main plate and you put you can put a trauma, what they call a trauma insert underneath it, which is like a foam or gel pad that dissipates the force. But the most important thing is when you're sitting in a vehicle, or if you're just wearing it around, it prevents that hard armor from hurting you all day. And then you have side plates, same kind of deal. You're trying to prevent a round from getting into your side. But just think about getting hit with a baseball bat repeatedly, and how much that would hurt, even if you had like a phone book outside of it, right? So this is a great comparison. So if you had a phone book, I'm sure that everybody on the panel remembers phone books. Some in the chat may not. But if you had a phone book and you had that, and you let your buddies take a baseball bat and swing it at you, that's what you're talking about. And there's a really great ad. There's a company called Bulletproof Clothing or something like that, and they actually have a jacket that is pistol rated bulletproof, and the owner of the company actually shoots himself.
Yeah, I saw that.
In it, wearing it, and it hurt. I mean, you can tell it hurts, man. He's like, wow, that hurts a lot. And so I don't know about that. I don't know if I'd do that. But for me, if I'm a normal dude, and the only reason I need body armor is the idea that you might be somewhere, some point, and need it, there's no doubt, man. Get the ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, and
or who'd you buy yours from, Grid?
That's a great question.
I'm writing this down.
Yeah, especially for that price. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's
like a lot more expensive.
I got that set. That set's from Botac. That's BOTAC.
Oh yeah.
Botac. Okay.
Yeah. Those guys are cool. Yeah.
I know Botac.
Botac. Yeah, it's their Battle Steel line or whatever. It's pretty nice. It's not the lightest, but I didn't care, and it floats. The important thing
What'd you say it weighed?
3 pounds, maybe. Look,
wow.
It's one hand. Like I'm.
That's okay. That is extremely impressive.
Yeah. So, we got Chip and Flint here is going to talk about ultra high molecular weight plastic.
Chippin', what up?
And but I mean, it's an interesting thing because
is there any kind of reverb? Are you guys hearing anything coming back?
Somebody's got got leakage again.
Yeah, so someone's talking.
Yeah, it's got too many things going on.
It's me. It's me. Hold on.
Okay. I'll mute you until you wave your hand when you're ready.
All right.
Wave your hand when you're ready. All right. So, you good? He's good now. Okay. All right.
I just step outside because Little Woman, we had it playing on the TV. So HCP is interesting. They ship it in like little tiny pellets and like that. And so you have big giant hoppers and what have you. And it goes through a series of dyes that are all between 280 and about 420 degrees roundabouts. And those dye zones are anywhere from 15 to 40 dye zones. From there, it all gets heated up and mixed up and what have you, and then comes out through a screw and then an extruder. And it can be as light or as heavy as you need it to be. And generally, they only run regrind or recycled material on, I guess it'd be where you don't have the integral need, the integral strength need. And then, shoot, I mean, Schedule 40, like 8-inch pipe. You're talking half-inch walls. And then, but you can go as thin as you need to. But it's incredibly strong for what it is. It is just plastic, but it's the carbon content in the plastic that gives it its strength.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting material for sure. It's a really I like it because it floats. I'm just gonna be honest, like if you had to go, so if you think about real world stuff, the reality that you might have to swim with it on, is a real thing for me. So I would not want to drown because I'm wearing body armor.
Well, that, and I mean your heat retention and heat dispersion is just a lot better with that stuff over steel, where steel kind of holds heat and hangs onto it a while. That HDPE can absorb it and then radiate it out and cool off relatively quickly for the size of what it is.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. So the way that the bullets affect the ultra high molecular weight polyethylene is it actually melts in, and it will trap it, and then the bullet becomes part of the armor itself.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it doesn't fracture it like it does with ceramic. So it's pretty interesting that way. And I'm losing a lot of viewers now because Andrew's live, and I've actually been on for 3.5 hours. I might actually who did I lose there? Somebody dropped off. Evan. No, Evan's there.
Well, I'll jump on again
Angel?
on another stream like that and what have you.
Oh, yeah, Angel Berber left.
He's
probably gone over to watch the arguments or the TikTok invasion. I might go. I might send everybody over there here in a few minutes.
But I figured it'd be good to put a face to a name and all that, and then throw a little 2 cents in on the HCP.
Yeah,
what it's about.
Yeah, man. Good having you on. I'm going to answer Cam the King's question here. I do not have any preference in night vision setups. I basically I have a I do not currently have a night vision setup. I don't have an opinion on them right now. Also, because I think the technology is in the middle of changing, and it's stupidly expensive to play with. All right, Angel, I appreciate you being here, man. Really, actually, it's been a really great stream tonight. Really flowed well. I liked it. So if I were going to go out today, we will. We're going to raid Andrew for sure when I'm done. If I were going to go out today and buy night vision equipment, I would probably buy just a standard LV was it LV PMS 7, just a standard mono. I would buy a set of dual monoculars and just the PVNS 7. That's what it is, and that's what I would do. You're gonna spend $5,000 no matter what. Right now, though, there's a new company called Psionics that's been making.
I've heard of them. Yeah,
they're making a what am I looking for here? What's the word I'm looking for? They're making a digital night vision. So the digital night vision is interesting. The technology's come a long way. I think it's really going to be really cool.
Actually, the best person to ask is Clovertac. Him and I had
he's a thermal guy. He's a thermal.
Yeah, he's thermal though. Yeah,
I remember that talk.
Yeah, he likes thermal.
Yeah,
so thermal's certainly way more useful for what he's doing. I personally do. I prefer. I think my next set of if I get it back into night vision, because I don't really use it. But if I do, it's probably going to be a Psionics setup. Their new setup. It's still expensive. It's not cheap. But it is what it is. And somebody was asking me something else. Oh no! Somebody was asking Sam. Who's Sam? I don't know who Sam is.
You don't see Sam.
I don't know. Yeah, all I'm interested in.
Oh,
is
Sam, there he is.
Yeah, I don't even want a helmet mount. I just want like a simple monocular. Just something I can put in a pouch. On my vest. That's it. If I need it, put it out. Look, okay, and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't need. I don't want to rig on my like AR or anything like that. I just something simple to get through the night, so to speak. Literally.
Yeah, I personally prefer. I mean, I would just do the standard night vision setup. I don't know what the.
Which one do you say was better for hunting? Because I know Clovertac talks about thermal.
Oh, thermal.
But
100%.
Thermal is for hunting.
Yeah, thermal 100%
for hunting. Yeah.
And you can get a clear enough picture. Like I haven't seen. The last time I used night vision.
It's really not about the clear picture. To be honest with you, it's really about. It's really about the. Being able to see that heat source from far away, and then and with enough time behind it, and depending on how nice a unit you get, you're gonna be able to I guess tell what the sorry, I'm defaulting here. Depending on what the animal is, what you're doing, you'll see it. You'll be able to interact. You'll be able to identify it, and then you can get closer, or you can wait till it gets closer to you and see what exactly it is. Because it might be a rat, it could be whatever.
Right.
And the good stuff's really good. So,
but very expensive. I mean, I haven't seen
all
anything
expensive, bro. You can't. Unfortunately, that's the one thing I can't. I can't tell you how. It's just really expensive. I just don't think you can get away from it. I don't know. It's really hard to. It's just really hard to even talk about it because it's just.
It's expensive.
I just don't know any other way. It's like you can buy like the 30s, or the what is it, the 44s or the quad tubes, right? That's
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
That's the 40. $40,000. That's a $40,000 setup, dude. $40,000 for a set of quad tubes. And
so that's
I mean,
lot.
That's a lot.
That's
And it's crazy a lot. Like,
think how many guns you could buy for $40,000. I'm not talking like insane guns, but some handguns. You could buy yourself some pretty good stuff for $40,000.
It's a lot. No, it's just a lot. And it's, and so what are you doing? I mean, like if it's what you do, then you probably need it, right? Like,
right.
If it's what you do, you probably need it. If it's not, I think they have gone up to 60K. Actually, Sport Brand's right about that.
I believe it.
I think they have actually gone up, like everything else.
So is this because this is like sort of like a military technology? You know how that there's that
it's a black art to even make the shit, dude. Like I've kind of tried to understand how to build my own. I'm just, dude, it's crazy, man.
It's insane. I was just wondering if it was like military technology thing. It was like, I don't know if you saw that one. I forgot who it was, but they're talking in Congress and it's like he's holding up a bag of fasteners or whatever. And he's like, you know what this is? And she's like, I don't know. Or he's like, I don't know. And $90,000.
Yeah. So, so the thing is like, that's why I say, like you can probably find a set of PVNS 7s. You could do just a monocular with like the green instead of white phosphor, which is still fine. It's not the best, but it's not bad. You probably find that for like $2,000, $2,400. You may be able to do Facebook Marketplace and find, for under $3,000, right? You should be able to find.
That's all I want is that.
And and it's just kind of like, you're not going to be out using it. You're not at look. And the one thing you have to understand is nobody owns the dark, bro. We all rent it from Redbox like everybody else, right? I'm just telling you, like there is nobody owns the dark. People say that all the time. They're like, oh, we own the dark. No, you don't. You don't own the night, bro. I'm just telling you, you don't. At best, you just rent it for a little while because, it's so, it is hard, man. It's just really hard. I get where people want to believe that they are true badasses and that they, they own the night and they have every accessory and they can see every. But dude, working at night is terrible. It is, it's just bad. There's no good. It's all bad. And the best you can ask for, to be honest with you, is that you have adequate equipment. That's the best we can hope for, is just adequate. And most people can't even get adequate. So when people ask me things like, what's the best night vision, what's the best, I don't know. First of all, I'm not a professional operator. I don't do this stuff all the time. I'm an enthusiast. I do cool stuff at a high level, but I'm not, I'm not high speed.
Well, and you're a veteran, right? So I mean, you do get.
I'm not a veteran.
Oh, I thought you said you were. Okay, got it.
I went to a military school.
That's what it was. Sorry, my bad.
I get that a lot. I can't tell you how many people walk up to me and thank me for my service, and I'm like, no, bro, I never served. I promise you. And they're like, well, what department were you with? Because I know you were a cop. And I'm like, no, I was really kind of a criminal. I built race cars. I did really stupid things with cars.
But Grid One gives off that vibe like he served either military or law enforcement.
Well, I went to
I heard him say military.
I understand I understand it. I'm not,
because he kind of has that aura about him. That's one of the first things I noticed when him and I
that's
he
the body
invited me on
language.
for the first time. I was like, I think he served. He's got the vibe.
Well, and no one hangs guns in the background. Well, I can't say no one. Sorry, most people don't hang guns in the background unless they know what they're talking about. So,
well, I compete at a very high level.
You're right.
Like
Exactly. That's what I'm
I
saying, yeah.
routinely embarrass SWAT officers.
Well, so, yeah. I mean, the knowledge from like I was listening to you and was it you and Clovertac, I think, and I was just like, dude, this is so good.
Yeah. Like I'm not, and I'm not good. I mean, I'm just adequate. Again, I'm barely adequate. There are much better people out there than I am. And I do.
People honestly say that a lot though. So,
and the competitions I shoot, he would say, oh, you're a pussy.
Well, maybe not. I mean, the only guys I really give a hard time to are the guys that we're gonna have to do the redirect over to Andrew's stream, because if he's debating a Norse pagan, that's fucking awesome.
Oh Lord.
The best thing that I can say or the only people I give a hard time to is IDPA people. I just don't see the point. All right, look, you need to do IDPA after you buy your first gun so you understand how to draw. It's a good familiarization course, but it's stupid.
Yeah,
guys, I'm going to wrap up.
Look,
I'm not going to go against Andrew. Andrew is, he's. I'm losing. I lost literally half or over half the audience in the last 30 minutes.
My fault. I made a claim that I couldn't back up with evidence about breaking 2x4s with my hands when I was young because I was angry, and I lost a whole bunch of people. My bad.
No, I don't think that was it, man. I like the idea, but look, I kind of went off on the equipment stuff earlier, but look, there's good stuff out there, and if you and I didn't actually mean to take it in this direction. I don't know how I started off on that, but it worked out fine.
Yeah, good talk. Like I said,
I always think it's awesome.
I know a little bit from people I've talked to and stuff like that, but it's not my area of expertise. So I like learning new stuff. Like I said, for me, as somebody that knows so much shit and has done so much shit, I love learning new stuff that I don't know. So kudos.
And I grew up in the hood where I didn't obviously have guns, but all my
family was redneck,
so we always had fun shooting.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I mean, unfortunately you live in California.
Yeah, I'll let you guys in on an inside joke from the Fresh and Fit Discord. Anytime somebody says they're from Canada or California, we say my condolences.
Exactly. Yeah. I just asked how you got across the border into free America.
We need to start an underground railroad. Get our friends from the north out of there.
Oh, I have something.
And out of California
what
too.
I do with it? I had something for this. Give me one second. I had, because I've always felt, because I actually, I owned property in California for a while, and my wife and I did, and it was great, there
it's
for
beautiful,
a little while.
yeah, but that's where it ends.
But that, it was tough, because you're exposed to Californians, and at first you think they're happy, you think they're jovial, you think they've got it together, but then you realize they're all crying inside. And they're all
mad. They're all mad about stuff that other people do and how they can influence them.
Yeah,
I dubbed that the California mindset. Like, I can always tell when somebody from California comes in the Discord if they start talking about the state of the world and stuff like that, because it's always this puppet mastery kind of mentality. It's crazy.
Hey man, I don't think so. I'm not talking like that.
They're
I don't know why I had.
They feel put upon. Unfortunately, they just don't have the. The
world is going to end because we still have plastic straws.
Our state started the first $15 now.
They've had just so much fun poked at them. They can't.
Yeah.
They can't can't let it go. I'm sorry. I feel bad for him. I do. It's no really. It's not an excuse. I'm not. I don't want you to think I'm giving. I'm building in an excuse for them, but it is kind of what it is, and I want to make sure that everyone understands that that I do feel for California. It's I don't know what to do about it. But this is very important. It's a near and dear issue to my heart. Just everybody work on it. Someday we're gonna have to go in there. We're gonna have to do the right thing. And just remember to work hard, study hard, and marksmanship is important because someday we'll have to liberate Californians.
Yep.
And Mr. Boulay dropped out. I think he accidentally hit the exit button. And with that, guys, I'm going to stop the stream. Boulay's back. He'll be here for the grand exit. Guys, I'm gonna stop the stream. I'm gonna redirect the few remaining souls here over to the TikTok invasion. I'm probably gonna go to sleep. I may watch the invasion, but you guys are gonna go over there and have some fun. As always, you don't have to go home. Can't stay here, and get off my lawn. You guys are messing up the place.